Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Paladins Premier League, Day 2 of this week. We've got an incredible slew of awesome moments coming your way today. But, of course, we have to start with the basics. I'm Randy. That's Pretty Hair. And it's Friday. How you doing, man?
Just a couple of basic dudes here.
Basic
How many
dudes.
times do you think you've said that?
Thousands at this point. Thousands. And who would have thought? Probably some of the words I've said connected to each other more than any other words, you know? I mean, except like I'm going to bed or like good night.
Never give up, never stop
Never
gaming.
give up, never stop gaming. That's fallen off because I don't close very much anymore. I haven't said that one in a while. But a lot of time doing the Paladins thing, and it only gets better and better, Nick. From the beginning, we've seen all these guys, a lot of names, a lot of teams shifting, some new blood still trying to find their way to the top, and a lot of the old dogs still hanging in. Don't need new tricks today, especially NIP. But it's going to be about Na'Vi and Kanga and Envy and Renegades today. Those are the four we've got playing.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes the league super fun is you have that superstar team in NIP that's super far ahead at this point.
Yeah.
But then 2 through 6 is like reasonably close to each other. And that is kind of crazy because in the past, you really have had the competition maybe up at the top, and then 3 and 4 look pretty competitive when the leagues were split. But this is like competition pretty much through and through, and these types of little seeding things are going to matter into MSI.
And what we know is that on the day, teams seem to kind of bring a different energy. I mean, sometimes you do get the most out of a team that you don't expect a lot from, and sometimes you don't get enough from a team that you expect the world from. And it could create these kind of like matchups that go 5, 6, 7 games sometimes when you don't expect it. I think yesterday, Na'Vi, Envy, we expected that to be a good one. Did we expect 7 games? I don't think so. I thought 6. Maybe it'd be a little bit more easily handled by Na'Vi, but Envy show up big. So now, heading into our first matchup, Kanga and Envy, it's a big conversation, and we've seen a lot of Kanga, but Envy, but let's talk a little bit about Kanga and Chronix's his performance.
After yesterday, you definitely are looking at this team as well. Now, this matchup becomes more interesting because of the way that the games went yesterday. Envy looked much more competitive with Na'Vi than I think we were expecting.
Yeah.
Kanga looked much more dominant over the Renegades than we have been led to believe. I think coming into this season, we would have thought that, but when the Renegades took them down in week number 1, that kind of said, whoa, hold up a second. What's going on here?
And it's almost like Virtus Pro in that early week 1 loss to Pittsburgh Knights, where clearly Virtus Pro have established themselves as more consistent and a better level team at this moment than the Pittsburgh Knights. It's kind of like Kanga, where would they? They underperformed, and now they seem to be almost overperforming, actually beating Virtus Pro and then taking the win against Renegades to even up the set tie between those two over the course of the season. So today, probably their biggest test since their newfound form after Virtus Pro. It'll be Envy. Chronix, obviously a big-name player in that one, but, you know, the support as well. Guerra, he doesn't always get mentioned. He's a big player for this team and a captain grounding them into the conversation.
And this is a team that I worry a little bit about when things aren't going their way. You know, it's obviously they have a great energy when things are going their way. I think it's not necessarily even about the Kanga boys either, but more about Guerra and Evil Eye, who are guys that don't really know how to lose well because they've both come from 8-0 online teams to the most underperforming LAN teams, arguably of all time in their regions.
Well, Nick, you know what? So do the Kanga guys. I mean, Kanga
are
they're used to winning no matter what. Their entire history of Paladins. This is really a team of winners.
I think with Kanga, they come from like global series, so their expectations of themselves at LAN are a little bit different, I think, than like a Fnatic or a G2s were. But you're right, Kanga. You know, you phone those PGS matches in, you say, "Ooh, what do we get to see here?" What's like? It just didn't matter,
right? And you know, I always say, you know, I actually don't always say this, but one of the things that I always think about is that Hades always seems like he's got it under control, like he's confident, like his team will be there. And even when they're not, they're very aware that, okay, we had some things to work on, and we got to understand the meta did perform the way, but never goes into a matchup thinking we're going to lose.
No, I think that's a good mentality to have. A lot of players at this point have said this league is so different this year. And a little bald Genos action there. That was strange. But you can see that this is a truly competitive league because every week, and we're getting many players having this sentiment of it just matters who shows up. And that's what is truly special about this LAN season is that we've got teams from all over the world mixing the pool from international, LATAM, AUS, EU, NA, and it really does matter who hits that practice. And I think that is very, very well displayed by a team like Kanga, who was really slow out of the gate, but once they got time together, they've started to be on the upswing here.
And what's interesting is how drafts have shifted mid-sets and what that's put on different player pools. And that's something that I think really comes down to how much can Evil Eye set things up. And he's been a big, like, kind of, if he goes big, oh man, the other team is going home. And if he doesn't show up, it's pretty unimpressive from the entire Kanga squad. So we actually have a chance to talk with the man himself, Evil Eye. He's newly wed. He's got a baby on the way. Let's get some thoughts with him before the game.
Our goals are just to do the best that we can. We just need to be top 6 to qualify for MSI. After that, it's just grind to see who can win. Pretty much every team can beat each other right now, so you never know who's going to win MSI. We all mesh pretty well together. Our goal is all the same, is to try to be the best. So everybody's willing to learn and put in their input and take input really well. So we all have the same goal, is to try to be the best that we can be. We don't really have too much of a shock hour. I would say Gara is a little bit, and then me and Chronix do a lot of the target calling since we're the DPS players. But everybody kind of throws ideas around to see what the best is. Like I've said before, every team can beat anybody. It just depends on who shows up on game day. But it felt really good to beat them, especially since Doe and Vex were my ex-teammates. So I really wanted to beat them personally. But at that game, those are all 3-3s. That set could have gone either way. We just happened to close out the games, but it still felt really good to beat them. Yeah, we kind of got screwed over a little bit since we were an international team at the beginning of the season. So everybody had about a month and a half, 2 months extra scrim time than we did. We couldn't scrim, of course, until right before the season started when everybody finally moved over here. So we already knew we were saying we're going to be a second half team. All we got to do is just qualify for MSI, and it's just uphill from here. We scrim a lot. We scrim 6 to 8 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, if not more. We watch VODs, we rewatch our VODs, and we're just always looking to learn and figure out what we can do better against all these teams. Yeah, I think we're definitely on the upswing. I think every week we're getting a little bit better. I think they have a potential to be definitely one of the top teams still, but they could also be middle tier. It just depends on how they show up and if the team they're playing against shows up that day too. Everybody's pretty equal right now for the most part. I think they're starting to polish things a little bit. I just think before Worlds, the meta just heavily favored them and they figured it out immediately, and now that it's changed, they just took a little bit of time to adapt to it and everybody just got better. But I think they're on an upswing now, so it should be a really good set. Yeah, I think it's a very healthy meta, and the reason it's changing, I think, week to week is everybody is just so good that everybody's trying to find different ways to counter the other team's counter. A team finds a counter, then you find a counter to their counter, and it just goes back and forth. I think everybody is definitely putting in a lot more time this season than ever before in this game, for sure. We definitely have respect. I'm just going to go gut feeling and go 4-2. Maybe 4-3, but I'm going to go gut feeling says 4-2.
Well, clearly feeling like they are a second half team and showing it.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable expectations for them to have set, and it has started to look that way. They had that slow start. They lost to the Renegades in week number 1.
Right.
They're at a bit of a breaking point. These aren't necessarily must-win games, as they would still kind of be around the top 6 if they lost, but it's very good, I will say, that they did win this one.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough set for sure, especially given the way Envy are playing currently, but I think these would be a good win. I think this would take them to even at 4-4.
Yeah, and that's what I think these two teams are fighting for. Who's going to kind of be that team that has maybe struggled, started off slow, but truly builds their momentum back heading into MSI. I think Envy losing today would be a huge loss week for them. It would be just crippling knowing that they had that 3-1 lead and then gave it up. Obviously, going to be looking at the tape. It's not for the lack of playing well. Navi ended up just kind of bringing out their just S+ game when Envy were already looking like an A tier and close to their former selves. This guy had some pop-off performances. Rock Monkey looking good as usual.
Yeah, and this was cool. I think this is that. I was very excited about this because you so
amazing.
rarely get this like super vacuum 1v1 between two players like that, and Rock does get the better end of it. Rock is not a sprayer, so that, again, it was a big deal that he sprayed there. I think this was the 3 HP quadra kill here. Very, very cool moments from Rock Monkey yesterday.
Lazy just chilling. And Rock Monkey on the Mave. Probably the most impactful pick for the first 4 games, and then it started to wane a little bit. And this was one of the coolest things I saw, probably the best counter to what we had seen Nodis Vinciers and the strong pit players bring out on Jaguar Falls. Androxus seemed to float a little bit above Pip's effective radius of damage and also be able to counter him with some hit scan for a very mobile champion.
I love Andrew. I would love the chances for him to come back. He's really not been super staple kind of for a long time at this point. Very, very early onset Paladins, he was a guy that was around almost all the time. You had to have a good Andro player. You always talked about who's the good Andro player, what types of 1v1s that we were going to see, even back when the game had those mirror matches. So it's cool, I think, for a new school player like Rock Monkey to have a love for Androxus, even though that's not a character he's really had to play a ton of throughout his career.
Well, at this point, Mr. Hayes, he's been keeping him nice and healthy. This game was sponsored by Luminary, I will say that. And Genos, he has a great way of making things feel a little bit better. And he has been the first pick for Envy, notably until Na'Vi started to change things up a little bit and started to ban out different things. Ban the EVs, leave Genos available, but also leave Atlas Khan. Leave enough threats on the board so that if you did want to first pick Genos, you were giving up some heavy, heavy hitters on the other side as well. That change seemed to be a big deal for Na'Vi swinging the tide. We have a chance to talk with Metapusher, Envy's coach, to see how they'll deal with yesterday's loss and what they're doing to face Kanga today.
All right, guys, thank you very much. We're down here in the Envy booth with Metapusher. And I want to start things off kind of looking back to yesterday. It's a 4-3 game. It's a tough loss, but I think the community at large, and probably you guys as well, thought that you actually played really well in that game. Would you agree, and what are some takeaways?
Yeah, definitely. I think we prepped really well for Na'Vi, and on the front half of the set, everything was going really, really well for us. They started capitalizing on a few mistakes on our end and playing really well on theirs, too, on the backside. So I wish we could have gotten the whole win, but at the end of the day, we're just working our way back up to the top.
Are the spirits still relatively high, though, after a game like yesterday?
Yeah, definitely, and I expect a strong performance today. Kanga is a great team, but I don't think they're at Na'Vi's level.
So that was kind of my next question. Kanga, they've gotten a few wins under their belt. They beat VP, win their game yesterday as well. What are your thoughts on where they're at as a team right now?
I think they're working on figuring things out. They're getting used to each other. There's a bunch of different regions, a bunch of different personalities and stuff. So I think they're on the come up, definitely, but I think we got them.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate it. Good luck to you guys today. Send it back to the desk to get this one started.
Coming off a loss, obviously, against a good team, still confident that Kanga are not at their caliber. Interesting dynamic between the two coaches, though, because interviewing with Hades yesterday, going against Renegades, refused to actually say the set score because he said, no, I don't want to, kind of just want to, see what happens. Spoke with his play. Envy showing up like they feel this one's already in the bag.
Yeah, definitely some playful confidence there for the Kanga boys, and maybe not wanting to jinx it a little bit. Who knows the superstition that could be behind that. Splitstone Quarry,
True.
Ice Mines, Frozen Guard, Frog Isle, all the types of bands you will be seeing here today, and Ascension Peak will be the first map that we do play in this best-of-7 set.
Yeah, Ascension Peak's a great map that we didn't get a chance to see yesterday at all, I believe. And really awesome mechanics around keeping things long.
Yeah.
And also lengthy as far as the point fight. You can have a lot of different priorities here as far as where you go with your range and where you go with your front lines.
And this is something I think we can look forward to because, maps were coming out. Splitstone comes out. Other stuff like that. I don't know what the name of the new map is.
Shattered Desert?
No, the new one. That test map that got turned into one that has the gates that only open. I don't know if it's been officially named or what the deal was, but I
don't know either.
That map, if it's the same point that was in test maps, is 3 times the size of the Ascension Peak point fight.
Huge,
so
it's
like
huge.
Those types of hyper unique elements in a map to me is what keeps it interesting, right?
Absolutely.
Another map that comes out with another circle capture point is cool, and maybe the map's badass. Maybe Warder's Gate, Shattered Desert have things. The jump jets, Shattered Desert's just very open, but I like the way that this size of this point fight and that there's cover on the point really affects the way Ascension Peak is played.
Triangle point fight. We've done circles, we've done squares, we've done bigger squares.
We need more shapes.
Wait, we did rectangle.
What about a tiered point where you can capture
an octagon
above and below?
I love it. I love it. Well, Envy and Kanga. First off, Torvald banned immediately by Kanga. Khan Atlas might fit in here, but you could also see Cassie. What are you expecting, Nick?
I do expect a little bit of Cassie, but I'm curious about Genos today because I don't feel the priority for Genos for Kanga as I do for Envy in that Na'Vi set, and I don't know if that's Na'Vi responding to the way they feel Envy prioritize things, or if that's both of them really enjoying and building around that character, because he is one hell of a building block for a composition.
There was a really strong moment in the draft yesterday where actually Na'Vi ended up banning out the Eevee and then also taking the Bomb King and saying, you're going to go Drogos or you're going to go Pip. You obviously haven't shown the propensity to do that in Random Noobs Blaster category. And they ended up putting creatives on one of his most dominating performances. I believe it was on Splitstone Quarry. And they ended up just kind of really putting, I think, Envy into the proposition of saying, wow, we don't get a chance to even scrim against Bomb Kings that good. I wonder if we'll see anything like that. It seems like maybe going for Rubu's Ruckus, which in the first half of last set was so impactful.
Yeah, there is a lot going on here for sure. And Atlas and Khan will make it through as Ruckus and Cassie take a seat. And people tend to want to go after Random Noob, which is why I think yesterday was important, because we saw the Mave come out and fill a Rock Monkey role sometimes and a Random Noob at times. So it's like that is just another threat that is very viable for both of those guys. And that's a rare thing to have. It like a Cassie who can be so good and played by both DPS players. It's just a wild card. You never know when and how to expect it.
Do you go Barik Amani here? I mean, because obviously Cassie's off the board. They've got Khan Genos. You're going to need something that's going to be able to kind of slow them down, apply its own pressure.
Where are we? A-Peak? Yeah, I like getting Amani. I don't like Luminary Amani. To me is pretty scary.
It is.
For a lot of the same reasons, Luminary Bomb King is so scary, because so much of what Amani does and what Bomb King does is just left click you. And of course, Amani does have the Frost Bomb, and we're only looking at Luminary to supplement auto attack damage for these characters. So having something like almost an ultimate level crowd control to then lock down for some of the best auto attacks in the game is a very scary proposition to give away.
I think it's interesting taking the Atlas, and I think you have to do it this way, right? Because Khan really forces your hand on Barik earlier, I think. If you had gotten Khan, maybe you could have grabbed your second point tank as the Inara, and even if they give you Barik, cool. But Khan counters Inara so well as far as she just can't deal with that overpower. Although she has sustain, it seems like Kanga really knew the Barik had to come there, grab the Amani, and here's that Eevee. Very good champions for Luminary.
The reason I'm okay with Atlas being as strong as he is right now is I'm pretty honest about when I feel like a character is simple and straightforward, and I don't feel that way about Atlas. I think that, with having 4 decisions to make on your gun every time you pull the trigger, having a lot of stuff to do with realizing the only way you really make setback effective is realizing what types of cooldowns are up. We saw Ash basically be neutralized yesterday, and Khan. The way Phoenix was able to play Atlas yesterday was insane. And if you have that level of performance and you're doing those types of things around massive cooldowns from the enemy team, then I'm cool with it.
Well, Yang here, a great AoE ult, a very good ult for a point fight like this, and actually the illusions are really strong. There are a lot of pockets, a lot of little windows, a lot of little angles to hide them, get healing while also stay in the fight and be kind of out of line of sight. But oh boy, double damage amp. The Tyra here, the only thing that scares me is the lack of mobility against a champion like Maeve. It's really going to be up to Evil Eye, who I assume will be taking the reins of that one to really perform at a high level.
And I think you have these moments, right? You have that Torvald, Eevee, Frog Isle game from Fisheko where he goes 25-0 and it was oh, dude! But it's that's what this comp's supposed to do. And if he doesn't do that, they probably lose. So here I'm looking at, you have 2 aggro tanks, so it's not entirely on Random Noob. So I feel like if people are diving and getting aggressive, and now that it has been Leon, I'll kind of cut that thought short.
Okay. I think this is a better pick for Envy. I think it gets that Enlightenment is one of those things where Maeve kind of pounces on you. You can bait a pounce. Maybe she's used her dashes to get to you. She's kind of floating up in the air, and you seal the deal. But the one thing we've seen be so good against the Maeve is the Cassie, and that's banned. That's not available. They have the Amani. Midnight could still be a big factor in this.
This one, and like you were saying, low mobility, not a great idea against Maeve, because she is the only thing that makes Maeve hard is her auto attacks. Everything else is very easy to do with Maeve. But with Leon, we saw, even with Cassie open, Chronic still went here, and I think that's because auto-aim is very good against fat, Eevees and Maves. Tiny little girls that are flying all around, and you're okay, I can't do this. I don't want to have a projectile against that.
True. Well, we'll see. Kanga kind of betting on the Maeve early. The Amani and the Atlas, 2 that have been devastating when they are paired together. It's first game of the first set of our last day of the PPL for this week. Let's send it down to your casters, Dave and Gore. Get game 1 started.
Thank you, boys, on the desk, and I'm excited. I'm excited for this one. We talked about how yesterday was sort of a heat check for Kanga Gore, but I think that this is a big heat check game for them as well. They've had some big wins, but this one is really a team in Envy who've been playing really well.
And I think yesterday, so Envy going 7 games with Na'Vi puts them way higher than I think they were coming into this week for today. Kanga not 4-0ing Renegades, I think, to me, actually brings them maybe a little lower than what I expected overall. So this is the barometer. This is going to tell me exactly where these two teams lay out. And I think it's going to come down to, well, these maps and how they come through. Random Noob gets first blood, but Rubu is getting hella pressure. He's
getting really low. Toki and Random Noob are going to be the two to open things up here for Envy. Yesterday we saw a lot of games that the point would be almost entirely done with, and then first blood would come through. Envy are bringing the aggression, and that was a lot of their success yesterday, Gore. I think you'd agree that they finally started playing like a more aggressive team, and their picks sort of reflected that as well.
And that's the thing I think that a lot of teams have been missing right now, and I think part of the reason Na'Vi has been able to make that switch, and even listening to them yesterday, they'd say part of it was, you know, hyping themselves up, creatives popping off, kind of brought everyone else back into it, but mentally you just kind of have to come into it, I guess the way NIP do, where it's just like, play like you have nothing to lose. Play like if you lose this map, it's not the end of the world. If you lose this set, it's not the end of the world. Be willing to take that pick that admittedly might not be quote-unquote meta, right? Because
that's big.
As long as it gives you some results like this, you push harder, I think, than any other team.
I mean, I don't want to start sitting here and making excuses, but coming in on a World Championship run after winning the World Championships, there's probably some unspoken pressures behind that. You're expected then to perform like a World Championship team from here on out. So now I think Envy, we'll have to see how the game today goes, but at least the set yesterday and the way they're starting off this match, just aggressive, clean, cohesive, that's looking more like a team who are playing with a little bit of less pressure on their back and a little bit more freedom maybe to roam and try new things. And I'm really enjoying the way they're playing right now. Finally, Joel's answers with a kill. Might have been the first one for Kanga this game. About a minute and a half left here.
So far, they've been able to pick up 3 total, so a little more than just that one, and there's going to be another one as they come through. And admittedly, this is a map you should be able to defend on. This is, when you're equal, I should say, a map that should typically go minimum 4-2, right? But if someone starts to take a little bit of a lead, if you have someone like Random Noob who's just very comfortable right now, that's when things get out of hand, and I think that's kind of been the big thing. This wall is really only stalling people. Deja Vu has been probably the biggest talent that we've seen for Atlas that has been game-changing, and when you don't have it, when you don't have like a cluster rewind or the ability to shoot beyond the wall, it ends up resulting sometimes in, I guess, 5-man wipes.
We've really seen the big wall only on a couple maps. This has been one of the maps where we've seen temporal divide a little bit, especially on a defensive stand like this where you're able to effectively block off all the damage to your team that can just kind of hang up top. And Midnight's going to get popped here. That's going to put Envy on the back foot. The setback does get hit with the damage. Oh, that's a good shoulder bash. Toki comes in for the assist. Evil Eye falls for his troubles, and now Rock Monkey's able to just sit back, fire away, do some damage, and 3 kills come out as a result. Kanga are down to 2 for the next 5 or so seconds, and this payload's moving forward.
And that's actually one of those perfect times. It is unfortunate that for those 30 seconds you weren't able to push the payload, but Joel's is so staggered out right now. Atlas is not tanky enough on his own to be able to just stop this payload from coming in. No one on that team is going to be, and so you just walk it in. And there's a dragon.
Oh, they used the dragon. The Through Time and Space was brought out as well. I don't mind that one as much, honestly, as the dragon.
Oh, no, because that got the kill.
Right. Through Time and Space is good. It staggers out. It does get a kill, so there's at least a little utility from that. But the dragon, we talk about how much the dragon can impact a point fight given how it goes. That's some unfortunate timing for Kanga.
I think if at 30 seconds, so the minute you respawn, you step out, and then ult with the dragon, everyone in Envy's still in that archway, they're still kind of fighting Joel's, then you can burn them down. That's a good dragon. Waiting for the overtime timer that was there for, what, 2 seconds? Because it didn't take them much longer than the actual timer. That was way too late there for Chronix. And again, if you look at it, 1% for Chronix and Mr. Hayes, now 2%. Mr. Hayes is going to charge that faster, and admittedly, you don't need it at a fight, especially on something like Ascension Peak. There's not a standard, this is the path they take, like Ascension Peak.
Right. I mean, I'm all for, smoke it if you got it, but I think the moment that he had to rewind back into his base, I think the moment he had to go back and overtime started, They probably should have just called things off here. Now the ultimate's starting to fly. It's Envy, though, who find the first kill in this engagement. The Assert Dominance comes down, but it's Rock Monkey with 2 to start off this point fight. The setback, the second chance, gets a little bit of healing through for Kanga, but it's a clean 4-0. Only Guerra's alive, but he's not going to be able to do much. He's going to be the next to fall. 10 streak, 10 streak, 12 streak, 11 streak, 10 streak for Envy. They're firing on all cylinders right now.
This is that moment where I think Assert Dominance as an ability is also kind of what Envy are doing as a team. This is them just kind of showcasing like what they're capable of. And it's something, again, you got the taste of it yesterday. Those first 2 maps against Na'Vi actually made it look like it could be a 4-0. But the fact that they're coming in, and this is like we don't want you to have any doubts about who we are anymore. We don't want you to think, are these the guys that won the World Championship? We don't want you to think, are these the guys we saw in week 4, 5, 6, wherever.
Sure.
This is Envy. This is who they are as an essence, and they are great players.
I mean, it's only been 3 points, but you can really tell. It just feels different. It just feels
6 minutes
different.
in on Ascension Peak.
Right. It just feels different right now. The team seem like they're just playing a little more open, a little more free, and really starting to lean into where the meta's at, just playing aggressively. Not that they hadn't prior, but that's sort of been the question is, are Envy up to speed with where the meta's at? It's looking like yes, at least in these last 2 games.
And I kind of want to pick up something you had actually mentioned during the last time they started their push, where it was just like, there's that onus of, you are the world champs. Like, you have to come in and win. But the big difference between them and, let's say, Na'Vi, who was the champs before them, is that Na'Vi, there wasn't a huge meta shift. Like, there was a slight meta shift coming into the league after they win. But Envy had to wait, what, 4 months, 5 months before they got to go into the Premier League again? So much changed in that time.
It's going to go through, Gore, I
think. I think it just took them a little adjusting period.
I think it did, and they adjust they did. This very well could go through with still 1.5 minutes left on the clock. Midnight's going to try to buy some time for Kanga right now, but the Assert Dominance, nearly comes down. That's a good execute from Evil Eye. Looks like Envy are going to take that as a cue to back off, regroup, and give it another go. They still have 1 minute and 15 seconds left, and that payload is honestly not even a full team fight, just a couple frontline kills away for Envy from going through and starting off the day with a 4-0, so smartly backed off by them, and they'll give it another try here.
And I'm going to throw it out there. This wall, I think it's good for certain segments of this map, specifically the point fight, just because there's not a lot of cover around the point fight. That's going to be the best way to keep your DPS, yourself, safe. But I think what we're seeing right now is the reason you don't want it.
The Assert Dominance into the overpower as well. No kills just yet. As an effect, the Dragon comes through and it chunks out a lot of health bars. Blue health bars are going low, but the Dragon is burning away at the red. Tulki is going to catch most of that Dragon Flame. 80 health on Chronix. Can he win the duel? He's able to get back into the base. And yet again, Envy are going to back off, regroup, and try this one more time. They still have 30 seconds left. So they're throwing a lot at the wall, but we talked about Envy. Now you have to tip your hat to the boys of Kanga. They've held this defense very well, Gore.
And admittedly, Envy have kind of put themselves still in a successful area to either burn down ults on Kanga, because Kanga have to defend this. They cannot not defend it. So if you're looking for the exile of the Dome Shield and trying to force that out, Envy are in the perfect position to do it. They don't really care if this goes 3-1. It'd be nice to get the 4-0, but they can just win a point fight if they don't have any ults available on the side of Kanga.
Wow, that was a good Ice Storm. Melts Evil Eye. Rock Monkey's there to top it off, or I should say finish it off. Rhino's low, and he's going to get a kill on his side as well. Back to base he goes. It's 3 now for Kanga. They need to defend this, make it 2. It's only up to a couple Evil Eye respawns, but the kills are all coming up red. This one's going to go in, and Envy are going to start your day with a 4-0 on Ascension Peak.
They're looking damn good. I can't think of another way to break that one down. That is the Envy that we saw at the beginning of yesterday. I think that's still the Envy that we saw yesterday throughout the entire Na'Vi set. But that's what I kind of expected. And that, you were saying heat check for Kanga. I think we're seeing exactly how hot Envy have come in this week.
Yeah, I think a heat check for Envy as well. In the affirmative to confirm that they're playing as well as we think they are. I mean, that's a hard team to stop right now. They're playing clean. They're using their ultimates well. They're fighting as a team. I can't count how many 5-0 sweeps there were in that game because there were just so many. Envy are playing well. Let's send it back to the desk to hear what they think.
Well, definitely playing well, that's true, but also Rock Monkey kind of stepping even higher than just well as a descriptor for his performance. I think about 45,000 damage ahead of his next opponent.
The damage chart just looks so stupid.
It
it's
does.
just like
and he just really kept that pace up. You thought it might stop. I don't think 3 members, well, I think they all died at least once, but I think there's only 3 people who have a death of 1. I'm not sure how many kills Evil Eye got at all on the Mave, although did, 35,000 damage. The real thing was they just couldn't keep Rock Monkey under control, man. 90K in this short of a game.
Pretty crazy kill participation from Tolkien as well. He was on some big streaks, a lot of big streaks for Envy. They just had control of it pretty much the whole time. And going into the draft for this game, we talked about Genos and how, was that something Na'Vi wanted as bad as Envy, or did they just, come to terms with the fact that this is something Envy love? And then as we're walking back to watch this game, Lazy walks by us and says, oh, Envy got Genos, it's over.
It's over.
So that was an interesting note, I thought.
It is an interesting note, and I think the priorities of Genos are correct by Envy. They're doing it well. Their idea of what we need to value clearly has been a strong suit of their current last day and a half of playing Paladins. But it was shifted away from them. We saw Genos banned. We saw Genos taken in some of these instances. And we saw things like Atlas and Khan banned, or one of them on the table and not the other. Now you not only gave them Genos, you gave them Khan. And that's tough, So I think it's maybe a drafting conversation if Kanga want to have an even shot in this.
They have a really good opportunity there with Genos. Most of the time, I don't even know at this because it's such a quick game. You get marks on 2.75 people. It's going to be fading off that third one pretty quickly. But Eevee's so good with that mark. Rock Monkey clearly very good with that mark. And playing well around these aggressive frontliners and letting Rubu get even further off the leash than he can be at base is a very scary thought. Another thing that I noticed is that Atlas is very good, but you got to be careful, I feel with who you put him with sometimes, because it's Barrack Atlas, who are they to force Khan and Ash to do anything?
Yeah, that's true.
And I think
true.
We watched Phoenix bully Random Noob a lot yesterday, and I think that was kind of what was a little bit special about that performance is Diggy and Phoenix are the only 2 Atlases at this point that I have very clear memories and snapshots of they're just walking at people and bullying them and telling them, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill all of you and your friends. And that doesn't always happen. It's not everyone is quite there yet. So careful about who, I think we saw, even on Ascension Peak, Torvald Atlas, and I was just I don't know about this. How do they,
how does it
do
work?
anything?
How does it work?
How do they, make you do what they want you to do?
Nick, a conversation in my mind is, yes, about the drafting. I mentioned that before. We'll see how they make any change-ups. But when you look at the way that Atlas kind of matches up against other front lines, do you think it's a good matchup against the Ashe? I mean, I don't know if we've seen a lot of Ashe Atlas going at each other. That seemed to be something that was a little harder for them to maneuver. You would think, you got Deja Vu, you can rewind on the shoulder bash, pretty predictable there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Rubu definitely had his way. It was not
I think in a
stunted.
vacuum, a lot of, and it's hard to say with Luminary, right? Because that kind of throws things off. But I think Atlas does very well against other front lines because you don't need to charge your gun very much. You can kind of just spam the completely as inaccurate as possible and still hit everything and still do 900 damage, which is much more than most other frontliners will do. And I think having the ability to box and rewind a lot of health, but these are all things evident in a vacuum. Yeah, it's in a vacuum, I think he does do fairly well in 1v1s, but that's why, again, we talked about it. It's very rare to get those moments.
Interesting here how Torvald Makoa into the instant Genos ban for Envy. Here's what I've seen Kanga do prior, which is you have to, or Na'Vi do essentially, you have to ban something outside of Khan Atlas because you can't just give them Khan, no Atlas on your side, not really have a power pick. Now they're going to take the Khan and Tolkien, by the way, been fantastic on that, not his usual role. But when I first heard of Tolkien and saw him, I actually got a chance to play with him on a test map, and he was an Eevee, and I was like, man, this kid is freaking good. And that was on a DPS, so he can flex. He plays it all, even though he's been mostly a point tank for them. Now they go the Atlas Barrack. Is that the dynamic shift that you were expecting?
I was maybe expecting Ashe, sniffing that out a little bit. I think Kanga love Ashe. I think Rhino was phenomenal on Ashe yesterday. But if he's the Atlas guy at the same time, then that's a champion pool limitation, and that's something you talk about inversely with Envy.
Right.
Does either of those guys, I think, could play either of those characters.
Now, Khan Ashe does put you in a bit of a different situation on Bright Marsh because Khan and Ashe, not the most tankiest. I mean, they've got their ults. Those are really valuable. But as far as standing on the point, resetting, keeping that going, Barrack definitely shifts as the most powerful point take since Inara's been off the table. So do you think Envy trusts that duo that they've been playing?
Maybe, and I think that's a good dynamic to bring up because we talk a lot about the way the point is on Ascension Peak, but really because it's so covered and large, it allows you to run like a not a tanky frontliner and still get that JD, and I think that's a big part of like how Barrick really like kind of became that second point tank because he was just like the other guy that got it done pretty well on Ascension Peak. With both frontliners locked in, though, it's not a groundbreaking statement to say that Envy aren't really worried about grabbing it right now.
And I think the Ruckus might have been an over-assertion here from Rubu. I think that actually might have helped them if the Ruckus was available instead of maybe the Ashe. Some of those assert dominances that we've seen, even in those final sets of the games yesterday, were so impactful. And, you know, sometimes you get to a point where you just can't ban somebody out, and that seems to be where they've gotten Rock on Cassie, random noob on Eevee. That's been a real big, like, comfort selection for him. He's almost picked it every single time it's been possible to pick it.
Eevee or Cassie?
Eevee.
Yeah,
random
I
noob.
think so. I think he's definitely, I mean, at the World Championship, he brought Eevee back. He really did.
He did.
He put a stamp on it. Cassie is not only a good pick for Rock, but a great takeaway from Chronix.
Yeah.
And like I said, with the frontliners already locked in.
Whoa!
The foam. Kanga, they're going to throw me some jank at us here as they do hover it.
It's not wrong.
And commit.
It's not wrong. Who do you got?
That's funny because I
got?
just said like they're not worried about picking up frontliner because people don't really do this yet, and they don't necessarily. This could be something that you punish. Envy already have their DPS locked in, so they're saying like, are these good DPS against triple tank? Not necessarily. I think you got stuff like Big Game that is obviously very good against frontliners.
Oh boy.
But Eevee is not the best thing to run into a triple tank.
I mean, I think Kanga might have just done a little whoop-de-doo here.
He's sweating.
You know what I wouldn't be surprised to see, man? Wouldn't be surprised to see a Pip here. I think it'd be actually really successful against Envy. And they can't spend time tracking him down because they've got 3 big bodies they've got to deal with. I think the Pip could be a really good distraction factor. BK is great as well. And you also have Drogos, who wouldn't be that bad. Not a lot of, I mean, Ruckus and Khan, but they've got to be focused on a lot of other things here.
Yeah, this triple tank is the crux of this win condition for Kanga. And I like this.
Choose your words
The only
carefully,
thing I'm a little worried
or they are
about
your
that
last.
gives, you know, I mean, I think Eevee has the edge. I think Cassie has the edge. And I think Ruckus has the edge in that Tyra matchup. But Tyra as a whole really helps to amplify Kanga.
Exactly. She's not the crux of the win condition. She's there to make the other frontliners better and for them to win their matchups where she's just going to try to do her best, I think. And I'm excited to see how this goes for sure.
Me too. Boy, oh boy. Kanga going with the triple tank here to try to take down Envy. Notably, it does seem that, well, I actually don't know. Who was the first pick map? Whose map was that? Whose map is this?
I hope that was Envy's map.
I think it's Envy's map. We'll try to see if we can get some confirmation either with us or with the casters whose map it was, but Kanga seemed like they had a plan.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
hopefully that's not your map pick and you get 4-0'd in 7 minutes. That's tough.
All right, so it's Envy's map. So maybe Kanga now throwing Envy's plans off.
Yeah.
And Kanga did get demolished on their Ascension Peak map. So things already out the window for this one. We're going to let our casters do the talking after this. Dave, Gore, what do you guys think about this triple tank?
Thanks, guys. Leave it to us. We'll take it from here. We're headed down to Bright Marsh. Gore, what do you think of the triple tank? It's interesting. They have Big Game Cassie to go up against, though.
Yeah.
If there's a character you don't want against you when you have 3 tanks on your team,
It'd be Big Game.
one that can do high amounts of percentage damage is going to be it. What are your thoughts?
I actually, like, this is one of those only scenarios where I think I could ever hear myself saying this. I kind of want to throw up in my mouth a little bit, but this is also, because of this map and because of Triple Frontline, this is also not a bad time that Sky could come out. But
Yeah.
I actually like the way Envy approaches, because like you said, Big Game is
Sky.
going to, yeah, right? No, like I said, like I started to say it, and I'm like, I don't want to say it. It
scares
leaves
me.
a bad taste in my mouth.
Oh,
But
so close.
she's really good for this. Rubu missing the jump actually might affect a little bit of this. But I mean, like,
gonna
you
try
get
to get-
Big Game, you have the Eevee, who admittedly isn't going to be finding
Rubu.
the 1v1s. You're looking at Eevee as the setup here,
Right.
really, for this Cassie.
Yeah, look at
And
that.
kind of
Oh.
distraction.
I mean, Chronix gets melted here. He's taking a lot of damage, but it's going to be Gera. Rubu finally makes his way up to the high ground after little aerobatics to get himself into position. He's grinding away at Rhino right now. Kanga are the ones who are on the point, sending 4 members here to this backside, leaving 1 just to hang out on the point, receive a little bit of healing from the Dom, but Rubu's doing such a beautiful job. Look at that, 3 members with their eyes on him up top, and that leaves Rock Monkey able to wrap around the side here, and early ultimate, get some vision as
Nice
well.
shot.
He's going to find the shot onto Chronix. That's 1. He could round this corner and look for 2. He's going to play it slow, grinding away at Rhino. Just needs 1 more. The second chance is going to put him around the corner here. He's able to get out with a little bit of health, but he's soon to fall. Rock Monkey makes it 2 in this fight, and Envy are on the point.
See, the big downside for triple frontline to me is, honestly, unless you're NIP, you just don't have the same pushing power. So if you lose control of an objective, you get shoved out pretty hard. And I think that's exactly what Envy are kind of banking on. You're going to see high percentage caps from Kanga. You're going to see maybe even a lot of defenses. This could go 4-3 because that's what this comp is built to do. It slows the game down. But if Envy can just keep up this amount of pressure, this amount of push, it's just so uncomfortable for Kanga.
Needs to stay alive there. Tulky, and he does. He's able to keep himself alive. Rubu is alive on the Ruckus as well, but Rock Monkey's going to be the one to open things up. That 1-2 punch, Rock and Random, they find a couple to start one off. Rubu gets in on the action with a double for himself, dashing around the outside. Garrett's going to be the last to go. And Envy, the heat's still rolling here in game number 2, 1-0.
And now I can go in as deep as I want to. Tyra here is picked up to give some damage to these front lines. Atlas does a lot already.
Right.
Ash can do a pretty good chunk. Barrett can do a pretty good chunk on their own. But that's going to escalate them into like carry damage potentially, right? It's going to give them a little bit of a lead back. But the problem is you have slowing shots as well as the big ice storm that can come out on the side from this Eevee from Random Noob. And he's distracting and kind of damning Kanga to be on 2 fronts, which leaves Rubu and Rock open to just pincer people.
Yeah, he's just dancing around in the back line right now. They haven't even been able to turn around, and there's so many low-health targets. This could be big for Envy. It is. That's a double for the Eevee, a single for the Con. And Envy, that perfect pincer you were talking about it came to fruition right as you had mentioned it, and it plays out perfectly. Only Gara surviving the engagement, and his payload's rounding the corner. 3 minutes and 30 seconds in to map number 2.
And I mean, the combos I'm looking for from Envy, you could already see Scout is being thrown out as a, I'm going to track you down when you're 1 hit from Rock Monkey, but you leave an Ice Storm into a Hexafire, Ice Storm into I'm just going to shoot you with the 3-hit scan there, the 3 damage dealers we have essentially coming through. There's so much damage coming down from Envy to deal with this.
That's a good convergence, pulls a couple in. Mr. Hayes is going to be a benefactor of his own ultimate in this case. Joel's is headed back, so that's a little frontline pressure missing from Kanga. Atlas as well. Now they just have, actually they have a third frontliner, so they benefit a little bit here, but Random Noob's coming alive on the Eevee, and this constant pressure from Envy are making it hard for Kanga to get any sort of comfortable in this. Random Noob, he's having himself a game. He ate his Wheaties this morning. He's having a day so far, and Envy, they're doing so as well. 2-0 on Brightmarsh, 5 streaked out members. They are not skipping a beat.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing to take out of that is that this is a composition built to live on the side of Kanga. Like, it is Barrick with his resets, Ash with her health, Atlas with his ability to reset as well. You're supposed to have longevity. You're supposed to be able to survive very long on the point, very long on the defense, and that's what your job is at this point, is I'm going to just out-survive you, and hopefully doing that lets my Tyra, in this instance, burn you down. Lets Jera get more damage than Amaldamba really should be doing, and you can actually see it's still at the bottom, but I mean, 5,000, considering the way the round went, is a pretty decent chunk. He also got a couple of last hits, or just one last hit throughout all of that. But there's so much on Envy that just shuts it down, is what it feels like. It's a good convergence. You don't really have the ability to escape it unless you happen to have one of the shields up at the right time.
I mean, and Cassie with Wrecker 2 as well. Most of the members of Kanga, I mean, you consider it a majority, having shields of some sort, being able to melt through a lot of those. Here's the overpower. It's going to be good onto Joel to get rid of him. Not even going to need the throw. He's just going to get cleaned up when in the hands of the Con. 2 members left. Make it 1. Make it 0. I mean, Envy, they're aggressive. Their carries are coming alive. You need Rock Monkey, you need Random Noob to have themselves a day, and they're doing that right now.
I'm going to say, I think last map, Kanga got rocked on their own map pick, and it was just mechanical play. I think this one, it's mechanical play on Envy is incredibly strong, and you got outdrafted. I feel like your draft on Kanga is still solid, and admittedly, if you're looking at this in yesterday's set, this is going to win against, the Renegades. It's going to maybe even win against the Knights, but when you're going up against Envy, they kind of know it. You have to rely on Evil Eye, and so far, he's been very hit or miss. There were a couple of moments at the end of the last map on Ascension Peak where he showed a little more of what the Maeve could do, but he's had a very quiet day.
I mean, he hit in this fight just now, the crossfire and the damage amp, helping his team find a couple of kills. Tulky now dancing around in the dome shield, trying to keep this one alive. The fast cap is benefiting Kanga right now. The kills are coming up red. Random Noob, though, he's been the guy who's been turning heads and finding kills in the back line this entire game. He's continuing to do so. Look at him dance. The Ice Storm's going to plug away a little bit of damage at Rhino, but Kanga are the ones winning this team fight. And they find themselves not only their first point of this map, but the first point of the set.
And that's what this, again, what this draft is built to do. It is built to hold on to things. All you have to do is get the grip, and then you just have to not let it slip. That's the thing they lost during that first round. I think a lot of it was a couple of collective ults, and they even lost at the very beginning of this fight. But Envy didn't have quite the same, I want to say, impact in that second team fight when they come back in than they did the first time around. You see a Hexafire that, when I look back on it, I didn't even know it was fired until I just looked at the cooldown. And that is where those issues come through. When you need these ults to be impactful, when you need the players to be impactful, that's the thing that's making a difference.
Ooh, that's a big overpower. It's going to connect onto Tyra. Getting aggressive now is Rhino. Rock Monkey loses that 1v1. Joel steps in to help that one get wrapped up. Mr. Hayes, though, levels things out here, 2 for 2 to start things off. His payload's close enough that if Envy lose this team fight heavily, it could start to roll through. Luckily, they're able to stall things out here, but so many low health bars. Oh, beautiful shots from Rhino. Tracks Random Noob up in the air and gets the kill, but Toki, he's back in this fight. He finds one onto the Atlas.
And that is why Random Noob is going to have a bad time overall. I think he's now 10-5, maybe 11-5 in terms of his slash line. 10-5-10. So he didn't get a kill after we last looked at him, but like just going into this, expect to see more deaths go on. And the longer this game goes on, maybe expect to see Kanga kind of fall off. This is a composition that does really well early on because no items, no cauterize, no record. But the
We've
longer
seen the
game
opposite
goes,
story.
yeah, I was going to say, it hurts a little bit more. But, I mean, yeah, exactly what you said. Not only here, but, I mean, in the past, we've seen it be the opposite for triple frontline.
I mean, is it in your eyes, just maybe not playing the composition? I mean, obviously they're not playing it to its fullest potential, but what's sort of gone wrong in your eyes for the triple tank here? I mean, you talk about how they need to get the objective and hold on to it. Is Envy just playing too aggressively and too well right now?
I think it's the fact that Envy have two big things. One is that Khan and Ruckus together are going to do enough damage that, I mean, if you add their numbers together, it's going to be like Cassie and a half. If you just keep them separate, Ruckus is a bruiser. Like, he's more damage than he is really tank. You can take him out pretty easily, and I think that's where we've seen, like, the Tyra Evil Eye specifically showcase some of that.
You see it right there.
But then, when you look at Rhino, when you look at Joel's, and you look at what Big Game can do, actually, Chronix on the Ashe. When you look at these guys, and you look at Big Game, every single one of their like resets that can keep them alive, Big Game is still going to be going for it. So all you have to do as Rock Monkey is hit that one disengage, and then 2 shots, make Rhino rewind himself, then 3 shots and he's dead. You're fine with that. And that's kind of the scenario every single frontline is on the side of Kanga. They're just locked into this battle that I think, again, it feels more like the draft is playing against them than, well, it's the draft and Rock Monkey is really good at shooting, and Random is really good at distracting.
That's been kind of where my eyes have gone. Is Random Noob just time and time again seems to be, I mean, this also, not just Random Noob, but just Eevee in general.
Yeah.
He's just playing Eevee to her fullest potential right now. Always sort of in the back line, hitting multiple enemies with her shots. And they either turn around and have to deal with the Eevee, leaving their backs exposed to the rest of Envy, or ignore him, in which case he's going to win the fight for you. Ultimate's starting to fly either way. Dread Serpent, Assert Dominance, Crossfire, they're all coming out right now. Evil Eye and Os Rhino are going to start things off here for Kanga, but Rubu and Random Noob, they withstand the damage and end up turning around, a little bit onto the boys of Kanga. That's 4 down now. Only Rhino's left alive. Envy, they withstand the ultimates, and they come out on top. And they still have the Hexafire.
This is where they can get aggressive if you're Random Noob. If you lose your life here, like, it's 1,800 health. You've seen what Atlas can do against it. Like, just one shot can leave you low. One headshot can leave you just a simple tap from a Mulbamba away from death. But you don't have to be anywhere near that. You just have to distract them, dismount them, and make them question their advantage, like coming back into the point.
There is a Dome Shield ready for Kanga. You imagine that'll come out here. It needs to if they get too close to losing this one. Toki, oh, beautiful shield keeps him alive instead. Chronix on the Ashe. He's going to fall. You needed that kill. Rubu comes alive here. Kanga, though, wait, they capture the objective. Envy just weren't in a position to contest it. Rubu found kills, but they weren't in the position to get on the point. Kanga, I think, getting away with one there, Gore.
And the biggest one is the exiles coming out from Khan. It stopped just enough members from getting aggressive that it left the door, I guess, open for Kanga more than anyone. They have comeback mechanic. You don't need that much time. You just need to buy yourself a little bit. And that's what they were able to do. But now you can see, I mean, it's very similar to the point fight. It's going very back and forth. Something that seems like it should be dominating for Kanga, or at least seems like it should be in their favor.
Ooh, good.
Is not working out really for them at all.
It's a 3-man convergence, but the kills instead are still coming up on Kanga's side. This is just a point, or a fight to get this payload moving forward, so not too impactful as far as the game at large goes. But both teams really spending everything on that first point fight.
Yeah.
Overpower's coming back soon, Ice Storm as well. No game to win here for Envy, but a game to tie for the boys in orange on the red side of your screen here. There's the Overpower, using it early on, gonna get that nice and charged up. That's gonna stall things out here. Ice Storm as well is gonna be good. Dancing around, it's Rhino, but he's not gonna last very long. Excuse me, that was Chronix. Rock Monkey has a couple in this little engagement. Kanga, they'll look to get this one pushed through and tie things off, but Rhino, he falls as well. Rock Monkey's coming alive. It was Random Noob earlier, now it's the Cassie. She's benefiting from the length I think this game is starting to go on.
This is, wow, geez, 20,000 damage ahead as well. So not even just a little chunk. It's going to be big from Rock Monkey, but even then, 10K ahead from number 3 is going to be Random Noob. So you're looking at 30,000 damage from the top of Envy to the top of Kanga. So that is partially going to be skewing things in your favor. But this is also one of the things I think that it's just showcasing very well. Envy have a lot of sustain when Cauterize isn't being applied. Saris is always amazing when that's not there. But these front lines, specifically Rhino, is doing so much work that he should be high priority at this point.
The second chance gets him out of the convergence, kills checkerboarding. Red and blue Envy are down 3 members right now, though. Rock Monkey needs to sustain as long as he can right here. He does just that, but that gives his team time to respawn back in their base. They're back to 4 strong. Kanga have 5 ultimates. Envy only have 2 right here. How much they utilize to try to get this push through is the question, because even if you do get it pushed through, then you have a 3-3 point fight. And if you use everything, you're going to be at a disadvantage as things move forward here. It's a pretty tense moment here for Kanga. It's very impactful, honestly, as the series goes.
Honestly, this is one of those moments where exactly what they're doing is perfect, right? They're getting kills. They're not using any of their ults just yet. I don't want to see them use anything. I just want to see
now they
them
found a pick.
Go for it, and once you get a pick, they got 2 big ones. The front lines on the side of Envy gone.
It's going to go in. I mean, the question is, how much do we use to get this push through? But when you find a pick, and then a second one on top of that, you realize we don't have to use anything. We just have a flat numbers advantage, much less having ultimates. So map number 2, after map number 1 is dominated by Envy. Kanga have made their composition work. Honestly, it's been a little bit flipped, where the early game you would maybe give to Kanga just based on composition. And then the late game maybe flip things around, but Kanga have started to come alive. We're tied up at 3s here. And this one's going to be impactful as the series goes. If it goes 2-0 Envy, that's a lot different than a 1-1 series.
And I think one of the big things that they have going for them specifically is the fact that Crossfire and Tyra in general, 4 and 13, the damage is going to be there. That damage is set up for someone else. Mostly negative slash lines on Kanga. The only one positive is Rhino. And it's so awkward, but the Overpower almost has to be used to kill Joel's, because you have to get rid of Baron. But this Atlas is doing so much work against your team. He's honestly, I think, the reason Kanga are still in it right now.
And Overpower is still charging here. They're weathering the storm. Kanga, first team to get onto that point. Rubu just dancing up top. The rewind just going to set him back just a little bit. Banner comes down as well from Chronix, and that's a good Dread Serpent, but the resilience is going to keep Tulki in this fight. Instead, it's Rubu turning around the damage onto Evil Eye. Now Random Noob can get aggressive. He gets the healer out of this, and if you have 3 tanks, you need your healing. It's 4 down for Kanga, 5 kills for Envy, and they're back on the point and controlling this one.
And here's the big thing. No Overpowered was used. You still have that if you're Tulki, which means aggressiveness coming down from Random Noob, dismounting, doing whatever you can right here. Rock Monkey holding an angle so they can't flank on the one side. This is going to set you up for at least 1 kill and a lot of time bot on the point.
But look at this. Kanga still have 3 ultimates. Dome Shield comes out, make it 2, and there's the Crossfire. They didn't even have enough time to use it when that first fight started. Is Rubu able to get out alive here? There's the Overpower. Chronix is going to go flying across the map here. Rubu finds that kill despite the Overpower being used to secure it. But on the point are Kanga. They're actually in the lead here. Where the kills fall is going to determine this match. Rock Monkey with 1. Joel's is able to answer back, but Rubu's getting aggressive up into his face. Firebomb burning away in there on the point. Kills are all coming up red, but where's the damage? Random Noob is still alive. He's dancing around right now. He finds Gara. Now there's no healing for the boys of Kanga. Make it 2 for the Eevee, but now 1 for the Tyrant. She's getting aggressive. Rock Monkey's unable to stay alive. Evil Eye's taking this one over. This could go the way of Kanga.
Doing whatever they can to hold on to it. Overtime's ticking down. No one's been able to touch. No, Rubu going to be able to dash in, get that. The shield's up. The shots are good, but Crossfire comes out a little faster, and that burns them down.
Wow, that's going to secure it. What a contended game.
Jeez.
It looked like Envy had it. Kanga fought back. Looked like Envy had it again. But we got a 1-1 series here. Game 1 looked like it was going Envy's way.
Yeah.
There's the look from Hades. We love that. Always the Kanga win, always the Hades look. It's 1-1 here. That's a big fight back, I think, from Kanga. If game 2 went the same way as game number 1, this one could have gotten out of hand.
And honestly, that comes down to, again, late game impact of a Tyra, I think, more than anything. That does not feel like it should be a Kanga win, especially with all the kills that Envy are getting. It's just Kanga holding on to the objective as well as they can, and that's what the comp was built to do.
Well, it's 1-1. We got a heck of a set here, boys. Let's send it back to the desk and see what they're thinking.
Wow, wow, wow. What a game. Had our mouths dropped. Almost hit the desk here. Had to bring them back up to get ready to talk about it. But, Nick, what an ending to that game.
I can't believe it. And you have to play that way. You have to play so committed to the objective. The slash lines are ugly except for Rhinos. But when you get it to that point where everyone on Envy has to play in your house as the triple tank, so to speak, and no pun intended here for Brightmarsh, but Envy are just forced to funnel on this objective, and that's exactly where Kanga want to play.
Let's break this down. Here's what happens. A couple of these shots here looking to go the way of Evil Eye. He backs off and then comes in. And there's a big one with the grenade as well.
So
and
fast.
Now Tyra able to start getting this going. He ran into the wall.
Yeah, he ran in there. He must have been building Nimble too, man. He is hauling around this little room. A lot of big moments there. A lot of things that could have went one way or the other. And Envy started off very, very strong in that game. I think I want to give a lot of credit again to Rhino, the only positive member I think on Kanga, to get them to that point and make sure that there was kills that could happen in the intermediate, because they were struggling in those open field battles. But when the objective war was 99 to 99 on the point, they brought it home.
I mean, Rhino, 85,000 damage. Evil Eye 123. You got Joel's at 107, which is beating everybody on the side of Envy except Random Noob and Rubu, both with excellent games. Rock Monkey 21-7, an incredible performance on Cassie.
Yep.
And we get it. There are tanks on the other side. Chronix felt probably the brunt of that and the overpowers the most.
3 and 15, tough,
my.
Man. Tough. He's just kind of smiling that one off. But that chat, this is what that comp is supposed to do. They're playing the point. They're not. You can win games of Paladins without killing anyone. You get that pacifist victory if you're good enough.
They definitely used him as a tool, so to speak, and to accomplish a goal.
Well, he's not the top tier frontline player, so if he's going to be the meat shield, he's going to be the meat shield, I guess. You know?
I mean, you feel that there was just so much, and I really like to give credit to Envy. I thought that they min-maxed moments, and again, Tolki's so impressed with his con. Mr. Hayes and him have great coordination these last couple of games. It was so hard to kill him. He would get out with maybe 10 health and get a full reset, and that just hurts because you sacrifice resources to kill that player. Then those resources need to be replenished, and those are cooldowns. They take time. If that player can walk back in with full health and say, what up now, it is a bummer. And it almost got Envy the win here, but Kanga pull it back. Oh, man, feels like they might have stolen that game. So a big test here. Envy back in the first pick position, Nick. And this time, Atlas and Khan both banned.
Everybody's gone this time. Poor Frontline's taking a seat here, and naturally, Genos will be the pick here for Team Envy. See if it ends up pulling the weight that it did yesterday for them. Look for the Maeve this time, though. I think that was pretty popular. That was pretty impactful as well on Shattered Desert. I think it does a lot of nice things with Genos, synergizing well, and Genos just allowing a character to do more of what they're already super good at, which is those auto-attacking heavy characters like the Amani, like the Bomb King, and frankly like the Maeve as well, especially with Catberg, where a lot of your damage is on your autos.
So are you fine with Amani with Cassie, or do you feel like there needs to be one or either? Because they're going to be contested here. Neither banned. Atlas, Khan, obviously unavailable. So,
well, you can't pick them together because of the vision.
Exactly. So what's your preference?
Oh,
are
gotcha,
you fine with
gotcha.
either? Are you fine with either?
Man, for Chronix, I feel like the Cassie is. I don't know if the Amani's quite there for Kanga yet.
Makes a lot of sense. And it's not really there for Envy.
Yeah, it's not really like top of the list for either of these teams. And I worry about it a little bit on Shadow Desert because everything is a little bit spread out. I don't think you're going to hit massive frost bombs.
Right.
I think you're going to get flanked a lot of the time. You're just too slow to get out of the way. I love the vision from Cassie as well.
Yeah.
More on this map than a lot of maps. And running it into Maeve, like there's a lot of pros that when you look at the lists and you check them twice, you start to stack more pros than cons here for Cassie indeed.
I think they had to draft this way. Unfortunately, I think the Atlas ban is what was maybe through them here. And we'll see how it pans out, because the Mave into the Genos, giving that up with the mobility, with what they proved, Rock Monkey with that quadra kill and just his performance, you know that's going to be dangerous. The Cassie, still a dangerous threat. You can run a Monty here, but you also are now looking at most likely an Inara to pair with this. You could maybe try to go for a Ruckus as well.
Yeah, I think that's sheesh. I might almost guarantee that at this point. If Kanga don't grab it,
yeah,
Envy would be happy to take that one for sure. Rubu played very nicely, you got to say, on Bright Marsh there. I think his Hexafires definitely defined the first round point fight, getting the full channel off, and it's okay to shoot a shield to an extent. I think you're still getting value there, especially in a tight point fight like that. So Rubu, one of the best in the business. He wrote the play like a pro.
He did.
Here we go.
Nick, the thing about Ying is I see the benefit. Jera and Gera and EU prioritize Ying. He's very good at it. It's in his wheelhouse. And the AoE healing, right? There's a lot of rotation. You don't need it. But Damba obviously gives you that different style of rotation. Pairs probably the best with Inara, possibly. Do you like this Ying pick here?
I do like Ying because if they are going to get spread out here, Damba can struggle a little bit with lines of sights and things like that. And I do feel that on maps with longer ways to get around corners and stuff like that, the illusory, or the dimensional link rather, can be a little bit more slippery if you just start to spam that. If you're out in the open, yes, you can slither, but then you're still out in the open. As long as you're spamming dimensional link, you're kind of a pain in the ass to hit for a little bit there. Also, getting back into the fight with illusory rifts and stuff like that is a play that we have seen from Gera even this season, or I think we saw that was Bird this season, but Gera's done it in the past.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, I think, to look at here for Shattered Desert. If you're getting picked a lot as the support and you're frustrated and you don't have a lot of ways to deal with that, that's a nice, easy way for you to just say, well, I can't deal with it, but I can get back into this fight quickly with an ultimate that's up all the time.
And the Leon, just quick point on that, it did really well against the draft on Ascension Peak, and it was Rock Monkey's go-to. I mean, blasted away 50,000 damage. Are we underestimating Leon and Eminence? I mean, is it still the threat that was almost considered 1 and 2
It's still
picks?
exactly what it was.
Unbelievable.
So I think so, yeah.
So we'll have to see how that turns out, because I think maybe a little bit of a shift in the dynamic here. Maeve obviously taking a higher spot in priority than a lot have assumed she would. I think Kanga are in a great spot to be able to contest yet again, but Envy have either banned the Genos or gotten the Genos in all of these games. It's going to be a little hesitant for me to see whether I would say this will work out, but we'll have to wait and see what our casters have to think, as they'll be guiding you through the action. Let's send it down to them to get Game 3 started.
This one's a banger, Gore. I think if Game 2 was another 4-0 for Envy, this could have been a quick set number 1, but Kanga, they fought back. It's 1-1 here in this set, and wow. I mean, wow. Wow is the only word that I can come up with. That last game, that last point fight was about as contended of a point fight as you can get. I was for sure Envy were going to win. And then they turn it around and they find the damage, they find the kills. What are your thoughts on these lineups, though? The Maeve, pretty big on this map. The Ying was another point of conversation as well.
Well, I think my main thoughts are that Kanga are professional jugglers, as you can see with the last point. But also coming into this, Ying is it's been big for Jera and it's been big for Bird. Those are the two players right now who are playing it the most. I actually think if you go back last map and you just change out the Saris, there were some good convergences. I think she brings something to the table. I'm just not sold on her yet. And that's where my big issue is I feel like there's other supports that just do better than her. Her ult is really good, but I don't know if it brings enough to the table to pick her in these scenarios. Whereas Kanga have gone the Ying over Moldamba several times in the last 2 days.
And it's been to some mixed results. To start things off, though, Toki getting very aggressive and a lot of damage on this barrack. And that was a very quiet point fight. They get 4 or 5 straight kills there, Envy do, but it wasn't very contested. They just chased down the members of Kanga and supplant themselves onto the point here. 60% in climbing for them. This is one of the more interesting maps to zone out on. They get the dismounts very far back as well. 78% now on the point.
Jeez.
They need to dash forward. They don't have too much forward mobility aside from the shoulder bash, but a good body block will stop that. This one's going to go Envy's way. That wasn't very contested.
We might need to add a mini-map. I think Kanga might have gotten lost trying to get back to
I
the
think
point.
they did.
They never got
didn't.
there.
They're like, wait, it's not in this side room right here? We still have further to go? What?
There was like one moment where I think Evil Eye on Maeve got a little further than everybody else and then immediately got pushed back. Right? I think Chronix might have just gotten their first kill as well, but it has just been all Envy all day. At least on this map, there's going to be 2 for them as Chronix and Joel's put their names on the list. But I mean, that was zone.
Zone City.
If there's a textbook way to showcase a zone, that's it. It's just you dismounted them all outside of the base. You locked down every doorway they could come through, and you just made sure they never took more than, what, 50 units away from their base. Like, they were in the safest area Kanga could be, which was nowhere near the objective.
And this is such I was sort of mentioning, this is such an interesting map, not only to zone on, but to push on, because there's these sort of 3 valleys, I guess you could say, that you can come through, and Envy effectively shut down all 3 of those routes. Evil Eye's going to open up this fight, but the Hexafire is going to be good from Rubu. Cleans up Chronix. He's had an okay game up to this point. A tough series, though. Very keyed in on by the boys of Envy. The fight is coming up all blue. All Envy all day, as you said, and this payload's rounding the final corner. Could be going in here. 8 seconds left, 4 seconds left, 2 seconds left. It's only 2 from Kanga right now, and this payload's getting close.
I mean, this has just been damage galore. Tulki, I think, was at the top of the damage charts.
I think he was.
Overall, has a dome shield available. Probably doesn't need it. They still have a minute left to try and push this in. And, well, the payload is literally 3/4 of the way onto this point. So looking to try and find themselves up 2-0 is going to be Envy right here. I mean, it's just barely kind of stalling out.
They pulled out the Ying ultimate. There's the dome shield. Aggressive from Tulki to try to keep those members back. But 1, 2, 3 for Envy. Only Chronix is able to answer back for Kanga. The Void Grip's going to be good for another. This one's going through for sure. Envy now grab a 2-0 lead here. And they're looking good. They're back to where they were in game number 1, but it's what we saw on Brightmarsh. Remember, I mean, Kanga have shown they can fight back from a 2-0 deficit and win a game. So they'll be looking to make those, in this case, halftime adjustments, since Envy are already halfway in there to winning. But this was their map, remember? I mean, they won Kanga's map, lost to their own map, and now we're back to an Envy map pick. They're looking good.
And so far, like, Ascension Peak, I don't think I can throw out there as much of a fringe, but it is one of those maps that isn't picked up anywhere near as often. Then you look at yesterday, 2 maps that are in common so far in this set. Shattered Desert was one that Envy was able to dominate. Even Na'Vi on came through. It was a 4-1 there. So maybe Kanga are able to get the point. Maybe they can come through. They do have the comeback mechanic enabled. But you're also looking at, you know, maps like Warder's Gate, which is actually one that we've seen Kanga be really good on in the past. Those things will make such a big difference, and I think Warder's Gate not banned out this time, so I wouldn't be surprised if that comes up sometime in the next couple of maps. But I mean, if Envy 4-0 here, I think Kanga might not actually want to go there, even though it's one of their better maps too.
Yeah, and Envy have looked good there as well. It's a 1-for-1 to start off this side of things. Kanga are the ones who are fighting from the point, though. You're going to get that when you have an Anar on your team. You can just kind of plant Joel's there. Jules has sort of shown his ability to be an aggressive frontliner or the type to just kind of hang back and put himself on the point. Here comes Tulki to sort of aggress that, though. That was getting dangerously close to unreturnable numbers. Through time and space is good onto Chronix. That's the last person you want to lose if you're Kanga. Rock Monkey, though, of course, for Envy is the last person you want to lose on their side. And it's going to be Kanga who are starting to take the front seat in this one. 89% for them. And 2 down for Envy.
That honestly should be the point. There's no big front lines. I mean, Rubu's alive, but, well, not anymore. I said it, and he's gone. His health bar was not big enough to be able to try and get onto the point. And I like the call. Might as well go and try to get the touch, but he got melted, I think, a little faster than he wanted. This is where Envy get to showcase, one, their defensive skills, but also the fact that you have to change, like, I mean, Shattered Desert and Warder's Gate, the other map I had mentioned, were maps that Kanga have notably looked pretty good on in the league so far, the last few times they played it. It's kind of, I think Shattered Desert is very hit or miss right now for some of these teams, but those are the maps, like, those are the decisions right now you have to make. Because Envy got such a big lead onto, I want to say, little, like, slightly outlandish maps that aren't picked up as much and have been banned a lot in the last few weeks, I'm wondering if that's, like, if that's your strategy right now, is just, we're going to pick a map that you just don't know as well as we do.
And that has worked out for them up to this point. I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Hayes up to this point. He's had a great couple of games. He's been hitting his through times and spaces, which we've seen good and bad out of from a lot of supports, not only in this league, but just across the game in general. But Mr. Hayes has been pretty on point. I would say his percentage for finding a kill with that one is a little bit higher than most, at least as of today. Rubu's going to open up this one. Random Noob is going to answer with his second. The Dome Shield comes down from Tulky just to buy a little bit of space. 1 minute and 15 seconds left, so he'll be okay charging that one up as well. Mr. Hayes runs down Rhino. Rock Monkey gets rid of Joel's as well. Evil Eye, he's been a good sort of answer backer. It's a weird word, not a real word, but the way I want to use it in this fight.
Right now, real.
There it is. All right,
it is.
Mark it down. But in a lot of these fights where it seems like Kanga are losing, Evil Eye is able to get in and find himself a kill, and it's sort of been, unfortunately for him, it's been like envy, envy, envy. Oh, there's Evil Eye, envy, envy, and then the point fight is over. But good defensive stand here from Envy.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking of Evil, because there's a period of time where we were just watching him, spectating him, and like he was just throwing daggers out. Like 3/4 of the shots he threw out, maybe even more than that, just did not hit. Yeah. But it was just like, he's just doing it. And it's one of those things that it's really good for Maeve because she doesn't have to reload. The daggers are always going to be there, right? And that's the one thing I think she has going for her is you can just kind of keep yourself in the rhythm. Where are these shots going? Yeah. How fast are they going to be? Like,
it's a very rhythm-based champion.
Am I expecting? And I'd say, you know, very like equal to Eevee overall. She does a different kind of strategy, different play style, but a lot of mobility, and she has a rhythm to her.
It's very rhythm-based, sort of in the same way that like a Cassie could be rhythm-based. I mean, once you start getting into that, the feeling, it's really a feeling-based champion, right?
Are paying off.
That's right. Yes. You know, I had we won't dive too deep into it, but back in college, me and my roommates we had Rock Band in our apartment.
Good choice.
And I would be sitting there. I would be the drummer. And, of course, we have, like, these thin wooden floors and beneath us. And here's Mr. Hayes, beautiful through time and space. 4.0 KDA in this one. He's playing well. But there was one day we got a knock on our door, and our downstairs neighbors came up and was like, is somebody, like, tapping their feet or, like, banging on the walls or something up here? And then there's me in, like, a cutoff shirt, like, holding 2 drumsticks in hand, like, no, I'm just playing the drums up here. So that was always an interesting time. Neighbors definitely hated the Rock Band. But yes, rhythm-based champions are big in this game. Chronix has had a bit of a tough time, 3-8. He's been sort of the guy where Kanga will look to in some of these games to make the big plays.
I think this is going to be kind of a big moment overall. Through time and space, Mr. Hayes as a whole has been very impactful, but one good ult can seal the deal from a Genos. Like, it's going to be a little more difficult because I think it's going to take a little bit longer time. The Void Grip not going to collapse, I think, the way they expect it to right there. And those daggers not hitting makes such a big difference here for Envy.
He really needed to get in there. He was really looking for Rock Monkey. Now the Ice Storm comes out. Rhino's going to receive the damage from Mr. Hayes, but Random Noob and Rock Monkey are there to help as well. That's 3 down now for Kanga. Respawn coming through makes it 2, but Joel's is just trying to stay alive. This could be the point fight win. They only used Vision and Ice Storm, Dome Shield, through time and space, Hexafire. Nothing for Kanga to try to retake this one. They might have Seismic Crash. No, not even that. So 3 ultimates to 0, and Envy are in the right spot. I think they'll see this one through.
All they need is, well, they're not getting the same zone. I was going to say all they need is a little bit of a zone, but it's 90% to 15. There's comeback mechanic, but this is going to be a big shot. Gets rid of a Ying Illusion, I believe, in the back line. But there's a Hexafire. Tulky going to get killed on the Rhino, and that's just a 4v5, and that's what you need.
Yep, and he didn't find the kill, but he did so much damage on the Rhino. Look at that for Random Noob. He gets in, he gets aggressive, and he finds some chunk damage onto the boys of Kanga. So many low red health bars. Joel's is going to be the one to finally fall. Make it Rock Monkey coming alive here. He has a couple on the Cassie. Could make it 3, but instead it's Mr. Hayes and Envy. They go down in game number 2, but it looks like they're going to win here in game number 3.
And honestly, I think their biggest downside to winning this one is that, well, now Kanga get to pick where they go. I feel like right now Envy, well, I mean, they've shown that Kanga choosing Ascension Peak was good for them. So I guess admittedly they're not too frightened of it, but I think that's kind of where your mindset has to be, right? You've dominated on Ascension Peak, you've dominated on Shattered Desert, you've shown some of the more unique maps that you have that ability to, but you know, you lost your Bright Marsh. Where, like, if you go to Stone Keep, if you go to Jaguar Falls, like, if you go to some of the standards, what's going to be your performance? Admittedly, I think they're still going to look really good, but I think it's going to equal the playing field a little bit here for Kanga.
Well, there's definitely some of those middle maps where it's not even so much a fringe pick. Like, every team should know how to play on Jag Falls and Serpent Beach. And
admittedly, every team should know how to play
every map, right? But it's definitely, I guess, the difference maker. Some teams have certain compositions for map 1, for map 2, so on and so forth. But Envy take game number 3 here. They're up 2-1 now in this series. Kanga answered back the last time they were down, but are they going to be able to answer back again? We're going to have to tell you in game number 4, but before we do that, we'll send it back to the desk.
Thank you guys so much. What an interesting game. Shattered Desert goes the way of Envy. They're back up 2-1 in the set. But, Nick, maybe a little more to break down as far as the intricacies of it. Rock Monkey does well yet again. It seems like they never really get their momentum flowing on the side of Kanga. Envy seem to have something really good here in their drafting phase.
There was the potential for the turnaround there right at the end, but you see there was small little nuance things, and I've talked a lot about this yesterday. You don't always catch these things on camera, but small little rotations falling flat, like the last one we just saw there. I think Rhino gets in there, gets a good assert dominance off. Evil Eye pops Midnight, but then his rotation doesn't really accomplish anything, and he gets collapsed on and dies for it. And again, not to put all of the game on Evil Eye, but there is like moments in each round that will define you. And when you have just comfort power picks for Team Envy across the board, those mistakes are very easily punished.
Very hard for me to see Chronix at another 3-10. I mean, is Chronix just having a bad day?
Maybe.
Is there any reason to go 3-10 right now?
I don't know necessarily to break that
It's hard
down.
to say it like that, so
Yeah.
Definitely, but it feels like he's underperforming today.
Yeah, not having the types of pop-offs that Rock's had. Like, for instance, is there a reason for Rock to pop off that hard on Ascension Peak and be beating everyone by 50,000 damage? No, but if that's the type of day he's having, that's the type of day he is having.
Yeah. I bring this back to the same line of thought that I saw Na'Vi address extremely well yesterday, was they really matched the Khan Atlas so that they kind of got at least even or better, and they negated the Genos by, if you got that, you gave up 2 really good picks to them. And to start with an Ash Mave, I don't think that's it. Like, I don't think you can give up Genos and get Ash Mave and feel like you got it, especially then you give Rock Monkey Cassie and you give Tolki Barrick. And then you've got to have a Nara who is clearly fallen underneath. She's not a winning champion anymore. I mean, in the PPL, she is a losing win rate by a bit. It's like 40%.
Yeah, it's like the point frontliners are almost secondary in the conversation nowadays. And I think that's a little bit having to do with Rhino. I think Rhino is a lot of the spearhead for the success or the failure of Kanga. And again, that's because the meta right now is riding very heavily on your off tank. What type of power pick they get and what type of performance and space they create with it is so important. And again, had a rant on it yesterday. Does it matter who pulls the trigger?
Right.
And that's why frontliners get picked, because if it's Victor, if it's Lex, if it's Sky, it doesn't matter who's pulling the trigger doing that damage if it's very easy for them to do that damage.
Well, I think we're going to see a little bit of a shift here. Obviously, Kanga want Genos, but I think Envy will ban it. So Kanga have to put the pressure on something else going through it. Banning Ruckus again in this first phase. They tried that game 1, worked absolutely horribly for them.
Yeah.
I think Envy here, I think they banned Genos.
But they still didn't get Genos. Right. They still didn't get Genos in game 1. And being honest, I think Genos is a simple, easy enough character, especially for a world-class support like Gera. I think he can just give his boys that little advantage, maybe hit a sniper too, and that's it. That's kind of what Genos is bringing to the table. So if they're first pick, I think it makes sense for them to want to keep it available.
What Na'Vi did, that feels like I think maybe Kanga are holding off of because of Evil Eye. First of all, I think Evil Eye probably just needs to not play Maeve right now. It's just not working out for them in this set. They've had different lineups, different looks, different maps, not really working. What's happened is the Eevee maybe has been kept available, but it's always gone to random noob, but that's a great pick for Evil Eye. So obviously the Genos is available now, but they buy the Maeve and buy the Ruckus, leave Khan Atlas open. And we've seen Envy say, we're willing to take 2 aggressive front lines. We'll do Khan and Ruckus. That was game 1 yesterday against Na'Vi, dominant. And Tolki's playing the Khan now.
Yep.
So what are you going to do?
They did Khan Ash in game number 1. And they do a really good job of transitioning that aggro tank traditional, like Khan. Tolki played it as a point tank.
Right.
We talked about why that works on Ascension Peak, but I think he still does a good job. He had better kill participation in that game than anybody else by a margin. So I think that's really where it comes down to. I think Lazy did a good job of that yesterday, of like, I try to make sure to comment, especially with a Gnar, like he's very good at transitioning of like, I am on the point forever to like, okay, now I can go get aggressive in zone. It's still a Nara. She may not be the best character in the world for it, but I'm in the right spot at the right time to do that type of stuff. So decision making we talked about rather than mechanics is what makes these frontline players so great.
Kanga are in a spot where they probably didn't expect this. Genos Eevee, which is a high prioritization of, again, Eevee, which my vote for in the ban column for Kanga. Because, I mean, unless Evil Eye's going to get it, which he has not gotten all set, might as well take it away from random noob. But I think they might have expected the Khan here. And MV could be bluffing because they think, well, they won't pick Atlas Khan. So we'll get it in the second phase when it comes back to us, but it looks like Kanga just might.
And a lot of these picks are the same from yesterday to today, but it feels like Envy are really kind of conducting themselves almost the same in these drafts, and this is what they did all day yesterday. They're basically practicing to do this type of drafting and this type of playing and tuning things up and really knowing what they're about, right? We saw a little bit in that interview with MetaPusher that he thinks Kanga is still a team that is finding their way to an extent, finding their identity and how their play style is. Envy went through that, but they are a World Championship caliber team that's been playing together for so long, so that process probably happens quicker.
Right.
If they're dialed in, defined, and know what they're going for today, if the glasses are coming off, then you know Envy are ready for whatever's coming.
He's not pulling punches anymore. He's saying this is all out war. Toki. The death stare. Ah! Oh! Get it off! Turn the camera away. He's tired.
He's like, oh, God,
I was almost
without my glasses.
killed/seduced. It was a multitude of
Not
feelings
sure which,
and emotions I don't
but
quite
I was
understand.
open to either.
Learning more about myself as that stare gets deeper and longer.
Oh, Ash locked in, Barrack hovered, Furia picked up for Kanga, so Ying has been the large sort of answer, sort of go-to for Kanga. And I think I like to talk about Furia, not just for Solar Blessing, but I really like Inflame about this character as well. And I feel like if damage amp is really the thing that keeps Genos around, why don't you double it, put it on all your abilities, and you're just constricting yourself about when you can use that. I think a coordinated team using Inflame properly, if damage amp is really the key and the truth and the light of what's making these comps so flexible and very versatile, then I think Furia could be a damn good answer.
Envy do the Ash Barrack here to flex Rock towards the end. Rock has gone Andro. He's gone Cassie. He's gone Leon. He clearly feels fine with Leon, and I would expect to see Envy pull that out. But the Bomb King, the first time, I'm feeling pretty good about Evil Eye on a character, and it's not the Maeve. I think this is where he needs to return to form.
Yeah, it's not Maeve, it's not Tyra, and I have so much respect for Evil Eye ever since I learned like this little factoid that he like had to retry out for his spot a bunch on G2. And so he's not an egotistical player. He's really like I think in it for the long haul and in it to just be the best player he can be. And sometimes that is admitting to yourself what's working and what's not. Bomb King is a tried and true thing for him. It's struggling nowadays on maps that aren't closer range, so your Jack Falls, your Bright Marshes, things like that. It's really not, finding a lot of legs. Warder's Gate is somewhere in the middle, so I think this is Evil Eye maybe stretching what he can do with the King. I wouldn't say I'd necessarily jump out at the Bomb King on Warder's Gate, but I'm absolutely open to it, given how his other picks have gone this set.
Well, all right, Imani locked in for Envy. This is what Rock Monkey has shown he can play. I think he's a step behind where Tenor has proven to be and where we've seen just the ultimate Imani play, but I do think Rock has brought a very consistent, good, high-performing, and if he just was like, that was last week. Rock is clearly playing better this week than he did last week, and so if that scales with the Imani, and that scales with the Genos damage amp, things could be scary down in Warder's Gate. Let's send it over to Dave and Gore to get us going.
Mr. Hayes getting pumped. The rest of the Envy team looking pumped as well. 2-1 here, headed into Warder's Gate. You predicted it, Gore. You predicted Warder's Gate coming out here. What does this tell you? What were some of your thoughts? Why did you think you would see it? Why do you think we've seen it now?
Well, there's actually two reasons I think we'd see it. And one is yesterday Envy looked really, really good on it. And so I feel like if they were in the position where, maybe they go down another map, right, then they start maybe pushing here. But that's actually Kanga who I expected the most out of, because for a couple of weeks this is like the only map they won on. Like they would, and it'd be like they lose 4-0, lose 4-0, then win this map 4-0, and then lose 4-0, lose 4-0. Like it was such a bizarre anomaly for them. And so I have a feeling they have something about this map that is just comfortable for them, that they recognize that they play well, and they get first blood on it, and they have a good draft for it. It's just, can they keep it up? Like, can they get rid of Envy, since Envy was able to beat Na'Vi on here?
That temporal divide was actually beautiful. I mean, it was Evil Eye who did the damage and found the kill. But he just stood back behind the wall, poured out the damage, got himself a kill, and put Kanga on the point here, 51% for them. And now Rhino, he had a great game on Atlas. As I say it, Rock Monkey finds the kills on Imani, and that's been something we've been interested to see, is where does Rock Monkey fall in these Imani players? We've seen some really good, we've seen some really bad. Rock Monkey has shown us a little bit of in-between every time we've seen him play. He has 2 kills now in this game, making it double. now for himself. I'm talking about it. I think he hears me. I'm saying, all right, how are you going to play on the Imani? He finds himself 2. And now Envy are controlling the point.
Dude, once Rock Monkey is zoned in,
I think
that's one of the most dangerous things to see in Paladins. There are a few things in Paladins that there's player champion combinations that are very frightening that you don't never want to see. But I think there's just a point where it's like, man, Rock Monkey is hitting all of his shots. We might just be screwed. I don't know if we can win the game.
That's
anymore.
the Rock Monkey effect, baby. That's why we call it the way it is. Random Noob, though, you got to watch out for him as well. When he gets soaring on the Winter Witch, you need to watch your back. He has 3. Didn't even maybe need it, but 3 kills seals up point number 1 for the boys in blue and black. And now they're pushing 24K, 22K damage to start this one off. Only Evil Eye and the Bomb King rounding out the top 4 for Kanga.
Everything about Kanga's lineup I love except for one champion, and that's Furia. I just don't think Furia meshes well with either the Atlas or the Khan. I just don't think that's really the fit that they need to go for. And then you end up in scenarios like this. I love the idea to go back. Jules is trying to kill Rock, but Rock is bodyguarding himself with the dragon, and he has his team bodyguarding. So now this dragon's going to be able to get a lot more utility because of at least the 1 kill, let alone the zone it's getting off of this. But I mean, Furia is where my eyes are. I think Jera is a fantastic support. It's the reason we've seen him at the top of the world before. But I just don't know if this is really the pick. I don't know if it fits well with the draft or with the map. And admittedly, I just don't know if the healing numbers are going to be able to keep up with the damage that Envy's putting out.
And at the moment, I mean, she has 42K healing. That's to be expected, but there's just too much damage. There's way more than that much damage coming through, especially when Rock Monkey is playing the way he is right now. Only Jules is alive to contest this one. Technically, Gara's there as well, but he's not going to be able to do much. Payload number 1 goes through, and point number 2 goes onto the board for Envy.
This is kind of what I thought when I mentioned Hoarder's Gate. I thought Kanga's going to be the team to pick it because they have historically been good here. That was a 2-for-1 shot. I was going to throw that one out there.
Beautiful.
Evil Eye is, Random Noob is really, really good at Eevee.
When he's feeling himself too. We talk about Rock Monkey, but Random Noob on the Eevee. You got to be careful.
But I expected Kanga to come here because it's been a historically good map for them. I kind of expect Envy to win this map because they looked so good on it yesterday. And I'd love to be able to actually flip over and look at Jera, see what the Furia is running in her loadout, specifically because I want to see if he happens to have, stoke the fire there. So whenever he hits Wings of Wrath, which are going to be auto-seeking, that's essentially going to be 6 seconds off of the cooldown. It's 11-second cooldown on that beam, so it's going to get him back to 5 seconds, which admittedly, if you can get that almost right after the beam comes out, that gives you pretty good cooldown overall in terms of how much healing you're going to have. But I haven't really seen him using it that much. I mean, he hasn't been getting that reset.
He needs as much help as he can get right now. I mean, Random Noob and Rock Monkey are playing the way they are. He's going to ultimate, give his team a little move speed and a little bit of damage, but is it enough? It is for Rhino, though. Gets Tulki. Kanga on the point, benefiting from the fast cap here. Looks like they're going to be able to seal this one up. Just a 1-man advantage. Make it 2 now. You're out of time. He's going to get the Exiles just for good measure. Only needs 1, maybe get another one onto Random Noob. Unfortunate for him. But Kanga, they get point number 3 here, technically in this game. Point fight number 2, though. Now they get to try their hands at the offense. We've seen this, I feel like, time and time again, where Envy will clean win. Point fight 1, get their offensive push through, and then Kanga find a way to win the ensuing point fight after all that.
I'm just going to have to throw it out there. If you ever lose a point fight when you have the full comeback mechanic in effect and an inflame, then there's such a skill gap between the two teams that there's no equalizing. Like, that is about as one-sided of a fight as you could make it, where it's just like, we're going to capture just inherently faster than you. You're going to get 3% every tick. We're going to get 4. So by the time we've even gotten 2 ticks, we're 2% ahead of you. Add on every single time, right? Then you also have the inflame where it's like, we're also going to move faster than you. We're going to deal more damage than you. We're capturing faster than you. Like, it's like literally they're playing Paladins on steroids and you're playing like Paladins, just regular Paladins. Like, you just installed the game, you're fresh.
I mean, even still, they had a couple kills on the point fight, but it was enough to make Envy back off and give that one up, though. They've retaken control of the map at the moment. The payload just hanging out where it's at. Envy kind of drawing a line in the sand right now, saying you shall not pass. I mean, doing good healing, though. Gara, I mean, he has good healing. It's I mean, when you're doing, what is it, 6,000 a second for every, if we're ignoring cauterize. But still looking good.
I wanna throw this out there. First off, an Inflame's gonna come through. That's a win button. That's a win fight button. Right. Admittedly, when it comes down to it, that's gonna be 3 clean kills picked up for Envy, and it should be a 4th right here. Eevee does not have a very big health bar, and it might be 5 as they just go for the reset. But on top of that, I want to say that I think Furia has kind of like what I'm gonna guess call the Saris effect, where it's like you have really good healing. And admittedly, hers, much like Saris, can splash to a couple of people, but you have to be in the close area. A lot closer for Furia than it does have to be for the Saris, but admittedly, it's a lot more healing. And some ways to kind of keep yourself alive, some damage that you can do, and a really good ult. But a lot of the time, your heal is almost, it doesn't feel like it's always going to be enough, right? Yeah. It's good for the 1 reset. You really have to hope that does it, because otherwise, you don't have a second one coming.
And he looking for some of those in this fight here. Evil and Gera combining for the first 2 kills for Kanga. Random Noob's going to be coming back here in a couple seconds. But Rhino, he's been having a good game on the Atlas. He had a beautiful game in their win. This payload's so close to going through, he needs to stay alive. Rock Monkey's going to have something to say about it, though. Chronix, he's free-firing from the back line, though, and he's finding kills. They don't even need all 5. They just need 3 or 4, and it goes through. And Kanga, they're fighting back. Looks like a clean NB sweep over the first 2 points. But Kanga have looked good these last 2.
There's a certain point, I kind of wish they had let that go in instead of going into overtime, like just letting it roll on in.
Yeah.
And it's only because in this scenario, I guess, you end up 2-2 either way. If they had gotten the defense, it would have given comeback mechanic over to Kanga again. But you end up 2-2 either way. And the time that they spent stalling there, which, again, looked like it could have been good, they let Jera charge that ult back up. It's at 95%. And when you have all 5 on the side of Kanga, and, well, 3, looking like, no, 2, really, only on the side of Envy that are going to come up. This should, like, again, about as one-sided as it could get when an Inflame comes through. Yep. This should be a Kanga point fight.
Healing numbers looking good. I mean, it's not even so chop down the tree. No, people would have something to say about that.
I have something to say about that. What'd that tree ever do to you?
I mean, we need all the oxygen we can get. It's important.
I speak a lot. I need way more oxygen.
That's true. You know what? When you say it like that, chop down the tree. We need gore.
It's time for me to shut up.
Mr. Hayes is going to find Chronix. Evil Eye rolling through with the King Bomb. Finds a stun onto Tolki, but the Dragon's still alive. They haven't been able to turn their attention to it just yet, and he's burning away. Rock Monkey is getting down beneath this here. Finally getting taken out is the Dragon. But Envy, off the pressure that the Dragon provided, put themselves on the point and found a couple kills.
And do themselves exactly what they need, which is really just, we zoned them away from the point. Like, this is another composition that is going to be a lot of damage on the side of Kanga. And so as long as you just stop them from being there, stopping them from having that line of sight, just pushing them under the point, gives you something to do with it. And it kind of sets Random Noob up for success, kind of locks him in an area where he's going to be successful. And then you can move on in once you get those kills.
He had a wonderful game in our last set, having a heck of a time in their win in our last game here. But Evil Eye starting to come alive as well as Rhino. The Exile is going to set up Mr. Hayes for failure, unfortunately for him. And now the kills are starting to get run down. Rhino on the Atlas having a big day here so far. Evil Eye as well adds 1 into the mix. Random Noob,
like the
next to fall. It did, didn't it? He was stunned. He was exiled out in the same exact spot. It's 3-2 here.
2 steps to the right, and that's all that changed.
That's how we know it's different. That's how we know it's different. The ball is gonna, or the wall, excuse me, is gonna stop the ice ball from flying through here. I mean, this is Kanga's. They're pushing to win here. Envy can tie it up with the defense, but Kanga, if they push this one through, we're back to a tied-up set. It's been pretty contended. It looked like it was going to be one-sided, then it looked like it was going to be even, then the last map is one-sided, and then it's going to be even. Potentially yet again here. Rock Monkey having a great game. Random Noob, bit of a tougher time than he had last time. Rubu as well. But they're all just catching so much damage right to the face. It's going to be tough to do much about that.
Well, luckily for Kanga, I mean, this is honestly a win-win scenario. Even if it goes 3-3, you should be able to pull out a lot of ults from Envy if this gets pretty close to the base. With 1 minute and 40 seconds,
that's true.
You have a lot of time to play with. So, like, that's kind of my goal, is you don't have to push this in. When it's a 3-2, you don't need it. Like, 3-3 is uncomfortable, and it's kind of scary, especially considering what Envy were able to do with barely any ults during the last round. but if you can get them to burn the Dome Shield, you burn through time and space, if you can burn the Dragon, the Assert Dominant, like, any of those ults are going to be very worthwhile to get rid of.
I mean, they're dictating the game right now. I mean, Envy need to make sure this one does not go through. Kanga, in other words, Kanga they're okay. They have another chance at it if this one doesn't go through. Here's the Dragon, so the first of the Envy ultimates getting used here. Chunked out just a little bit, still about 80% of its health, but not really finding anyone with it. Just backing off really here. Kanga, they hear the Dragon, they back off right now. That's going to catch a lot of damage, so the Dragon comes up a little bit flat for Rock Monkey, and here's the Overpower. That's going to get rid of Rubu. Oh, that's a good Assert Dominance to come back down. The shield's going to block off the CC, but the Dread Serpent.
That's what you want.
That is exactly what you want. Evil Eye with 2 now. Rubu, though, he's staying alive, but the rest of the kills are coming up blue. This one's going to potentially go in here, Gore, and I think it will, and I think Kanga are going to be able to answer back, and it's going to be 2-2.
Well, I mean, they got the best of both worlds there. I was saying you just want to try to get these ults. It doesn't matter if it goes in. They got the ults and they pushed it, and they didn't care about anything else. I mean, all of the ults that I was saying, these are the ones that you want to keep if you're Envy to try and go through, or the ones that you want to pull out if you're Kanga. They not only managed to pull out, but handle pretty much perfectly. Like you said, when the Dragon came out, they were just like, cool, just going to go hang out over here for a little while.
Back up just a little bit,
The Dragon's gone. All right, let's move back in. We'll throw Ash off. Oh, she ulted. Cool. The payload's over there, so we're just going to leave you in this corner. And then Dome Shield was used, and I don't think anybody was really nearby for it.
No.
So like there was just a lot of, I want to say, misuse of ults for Envy.
And I think one thing I noticed where the overpowers were great that game from Khan. He was consistently throwing people off, and then when he didn't, it was an Assert Dominance that kept Ash on the map in that case. So well played there from the Khan, and they got Atlas and Khan in that one. So not necessarily a miss draft from Envy, but showing difference in priority. And Kanga, they won map number 2, but it was much more contended. It looked like Envy had really a chance to win map number 2, but this one, that was much more Kanga leaning.
It's going to make you wonder if, was the Genos EV worthwhile? And that's, I think, the question they're asking themselves now.
Well, it's time to pose that question to the desk. Game 4, is in the books. We're tied up 2-2. Two of their thoughts.
Well. You guys wanted another good set to start off your Paladins day. And on a Friday, and you certainly got one. We're seeing all the big names. We're seeing all the bands. We're seeing all the ties. It's 2-2. And it's now, I guess, what? Best of 5. Man, I screwed that up.
Friday math, baby. It's all good. I'm happy to accept Friday brain into my life.
Friday brain. I'm accepting it. Let's just go with it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Brain's been all over the place, by the way. a lot of conversations as we've been watching the game and kind of trying to shift into the gear of analyzing. What's the note here, Nick? I mean, a lot of damage from Rock. Did perform well, as we were talking about. Started off really strong, but Kanga were able to turn things around.
A couple of Dragons falling flat. Amani's a lot of poke damage, so her damage always kind of looks a little bit inflated at times, to be honest. Evil Eye Chronics both back on power picks, I think feeling very, very comfortable.
Yeah.
Rhino looking good on the Atlas again, and whether coincidence or not, a lot of big plays off of Exile, which isn't really something you see a ton of, which was very, very cool to see played off, especially when it came down to slowing down Eevee.
And you know what? You're right, Nick. I mean, I think we all talk about setback. We talk about the impact of second chance. Exile is very often the highlight of a fight, but in so many moments, it has shut this Eevee down. And it is, we just were laughing at the impact. Talk about some movement speed, baby! And this is one of the best combos, and I'm just so surprised we haven't seen BK from Evil Eye early. It hasn't been banned, hasn't been picked. Get off this, Maeve. Stay on the king, my man.
Oh, man. That's such a fun combo because it's been around for so long, but you still just never really know when it's coming. Even at the pro level, it's just almost impossible to be prepared for.
Can you imagine a Grok with a Tempest into that wall with a BK ultimate going?
It's tough.
Like, he probably wouldn't even be able to control that at that point. It'd probably go that fast.
Yeah, I mean, Amani Genos, there's no way in hell they're getting out of the way of that in time.
Crossfire glide through that would probably look pretty cool as well. There's a lot of cool things you could do.
It could actually be a relevant speed, dude. That's nuts.
I'm trying to think what else would be really fun to have during that. Maybe like a Willow Flutter, like a start of an ult.
Well, while you think about that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about like Exile has to have been in all my years the least talked about ultimate
all my years.
in a kit ever. I mean,
True.
It's so many other things going on, and maybe it's just Atlas everything about him is incredibly unique. So it's like maybe it's a little bit of that, but at the end of the day, Exile has been just under the radar. So seeing it actually be relevant multiple times on camera, there is an element of coincidence, and then you see it enough where you're just like, well, I mean, that's just an impactful ultimate, playing around it very nicely, knowing the little nuances of how to charge your gun and play off of it. Very cool stuff there from Rhino. I think he's had one of the best in the league.
And we talked a little bit about it. It might have been earlier this week in the PCL or the PML. We talked about the scalability of the value of that ultimate based on communication, based on how many people are looking to follow up after they're done. It takes things going right. You cannot be distracted with another fight. You have to be in the right position to capitalize on it. But when you're getting Exiles out in the open onto targets like supports, targets like, especially Genos, he's just got to run, right? Dama can slither, maybe avoid some damage, but with the ability for it to go, I mean, it's such an impactful usage. The other thing I was thinking of, Drogo's Dragon Punch through that. That would actually be pretty nice, because that's part of the weaknesses of that ult as well.
That's a fun one.
There's a lot of...
That used to be... That might have been patched, because I know Bird specifically brought that up the other week.
Oh,
and
really?
Had hyper old clips of him doing that, and he was like, I don't think it's really a thing anymore. I think it's like fixed or whatever.
Oh, man.
But that was absolutely a thing, and it was that was one hell of a thing to witness for sure. There was an old glitch. One of the first games of Paladins I ever played, somebody accused me of abusing a DPI glitch with Dragon Punch, where if you had a mouse that could shift DPI,
boom,
you could make your because your turning radius used to suck on
true.
Dragon Punch, so you could blast your DPI to like 16K, and your turning radius was great. You could really get it going, and I was just like, what are you talking about? I've never even played this character before. It's like my first game. I was like, okay, dude.
DPI glitch.
Sorry you got dumped on.
You know, Nick just plays with about 2.5 tables.
I'm the opposite of that, dude. I'm the opposite of that guy, too.
He really does. There's a side full table.
I'm
Nick keeps
I'm the low sense boy.
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, I was a high sensitivity guy. Me and Cables on Friday. But I was a high sens guy for a while, and then I started getting low sens, and I was like, you know what, this is actually really great. But for me, I think it's whatever gets my brain thinking the most. Like, whatever I feel like I'm actually moving my hand. When I have, like, that awareness, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because I played at an event, and they had high sens, but I had to really think about what I was doing because of that. And I was like, oh, I'm actually playing much better. I don't know. Just
sense is what works for you, really.
What works for
There's
you.
no right one or wrong one per se. I think there's things that lend themselves better to certain games, and even in Paladins, like I'll bump mine up a little bit when I'm playing an EV versus if I'm playing a sniper. Not a ton, but like a little bit. I like to have a little bit of wiggle room. I think, you know, when you look at a guy like Lazy who plays on like this stock Dell mouse pad, and like that's enough room for him because of his sense, versus, you know, some of the guys with the bigger mouse pad, the CS:GO style.
That's right.
I gotta have, you know, 100 DPI, one in-game sense, and I'm gonna throw my mouse across the room to get my flick.
Well, a lot of interesting conversations continuing from us before, after, during the game. And I'm sure Dave and Gore have been keeping you plenty entertained as well as the cast was going. It's now time to start off this incredible next phase. There have been 4 games played, 3 more. And so it's really best of 3. It wasn't a best of 5. It's not a best of 5.
Oh, you're right.
Friday math hitting both of us.
Friday brain.
Friday brain, dude. You said you're ready to accept
With
it.
arms wide open.
Under the song line. Well,
welcome
I was gonna go there.
this brain. I'll show you Friday.
Thanks. I love it. Never a wrong moment to bust out in a Creed impression. And I'll take that to my grave. Envy. First pick, will it be the Genos? Atlas and Khan have been banned away. What we saw last game and what we've seen is everything about these bans have shifted. Envy has never allowed a Genos to be picked by Kanga, and yet they have always gotten it. Kanga has always allowed a Genos to be picked from Envy. Kanga now last time did Ashe Maeve. As long as they don't do that, I think we're in a pretty good spot here, although Maeve is actually scaling a little bit better with Fish Market.
Yeah, man.
So maybe, okay, I'll take that away.
I think this is going to be bad for Kanga.
Why do they keep doing this?
Historically, not super great on Fish Market, and Envy are one of the few teams that I think are confidently picking Fish Market. Granted, they've got a little Gera, they've got the Evil Eye, they've got some couple of, you know, X factors to break the Kanga curse on Fish Market. But this is a map that
okay,
you're a little bit worried about. Evil, I hadn't played it yet. I think he's a solid EV. I don't think he's the best in the world. Like I have my Fisheko, who I think is the best EV out there right now. But Evil is absolutely a rock solid EV. However, I'm wondering if this is just Kanga knew Geno. They know the value of Genos in this matchup. And they're trying to play around letting it go. And there is merit to that. There is ways to build strategies off of like letting Envy get a predictable draft that they had, albeit feel comfortable with.
Now, I have no problem with that. Where I'm taking issue specifically is that in response, their picks aren't game-changing either. Like, I would love them to get an Atlas EV versus a Barrack EV.
Yeah,
I feel like Na'Vi did that thing so well where they, if you were getting Genos, they got Atlas or Khan. I mean, they set it up that way. And I don't know how, but Envy, I mean, so we're just saying, let's see what else is up their sleeve. I didn't expect the EV, so that's a good adjustment.
Well, here it is, because Noob's played almost
all
nothing but EV at this point in the set. So he's going to have to make a big adjustment. And in terms of what's open for him that's viable is leaning a little bit towards the Maeve there. So whether or not that's the conversation with Evil Eye already having the EV locked in, I don't know. Like we talked about how Maeve could be played by Random or by Rock. I don't know that it applies to Chronix and Evil Eye. We've seen Evil Eye play it. I don't know that it's even a power pick for Kanga at this point. But I don't think Envy are sniffing out that. And again, that leads into back to the Cassie. Pick that up, get that away from Chronix, because that's what Kanga need right now. They need a Chronix pick. They have an Evil Eye pick.
See, the thing is, you can grab a Nara a little easier here, but again, I question that. Right now, Envy with the Ashe can bully down a Barrack Ruckus kind of lineup if they decided to go that way. 2 aggro tanks. It would be kind of hit the gas pedal and win, or lose, because they just don't have that sustain power. When Ashe gets her ultimate, it just shifts so heavily in her favor in comparison to Ruckus, who gets that Hexafire, just gets a little bit more damage, but they're going to go for it.
Spirits, feast on your ashes.
Yeah, I mean, Dombo Nara is great, but they've already got Barrack, you're right, so Ruckus feels like the more natural choice there. Fernando simply can't keep up on Fish Market. I think he would be really, really left huffing and puffing as everybody else sprinted with all their mobility and movement speed around the map. Maeve will come through for young Noob. And he's needed another pick, right? People are attacked. Drogos has fallen off. People are starting to attack him. Look at the EVs. Take away Bomb King. And even Bomb King's starting to fall back. So this is good that Maeve is on the up and up, because Random Noob definitely needed something else in the pool.
Chronix has to have a good game here, man. I mean, I don't love Kanga's lineup right now. And I know it's going to be, you know, the Leon.
In this game, you win,
but he's got to pop
die.
off.
I would say outside of the EV, everything else you could kind of see coming a mile away for Kanga's draft, which can be a little scary at times. Things looking pretty rock solid for Envy. Again, it's the Genos. The big conversation is how much value does this have? Kanga, are they aware of this? And they're just trying to play around it and trying to lull Envy into a confident yet predictable draft and try and work their way around that and break that solution from the outside in.
Really, really. I'm torn, man. And
it's not Ashe Maeve, at least.
Yeah, it's not Ashe Maeve. I do like Barrack Eevee as an option, but I think that Khan Atlas ban, I mean, it just really feels like they're just falling in a trap. It's tough to see a trap and then see, you know, a character fall into it again and again. But maybe Kanga have something else up their sleeves. I just feel like now.
Maybe if I come at it from this angle.
Yeah. Damn it. Just go the other way. It feels like Kanga Esports, they're stubborn, but they're good too. So let's see if they can make it work here on Fish Market. No Genos, no problem. Kanga going into Game 5.
No Genos, no problem. I think the Kanga logo gore is pretty indicative of what kind of a team they are. They'll punch you back. They've shown that they'll hang in these sets longer than some other teams would like. And
Kangaroos are ripped.
Have you seen that picture of like the jacked kangaroo?
Oh yeah, no, they will like a kangaroo will one-tap you in real life.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Like, don't mess with kangaroos. Like, they look cool. Don't mess with them. Just if you see one.
Even the little baby roos. You know, the problem is the Joeys. You're like, oh yeah, it's a cute, but the mom is lurking around the corner.
Adorable. But you try to hug it, and then all of a sudden you get kicked in your ribs. It breaks 10, and you go flying 10 feet. It's just not fun.
The cripple on her auto attacks is just it's too heavy, too much. The moment though,
Kangaroo's OP.
Nerf the ruse.
Nerf the ruse.
Nerf the ruse. Evolution, you know, is buffed the ruse.
This is not the analysis I thought I was going to be giving coming into this game, but I'm happy that it
look
happened.
at if we really want to equate something, it's the way Kanga have forced Envy to rotate
We should
kind
go
of
to
around
a
the back
zoo
here.
and like have a tier list of animals.
We should. Kanga would be at the top, though. They found first blood and are finding the positioning in this one. Luckily, Tolki's able just to kind of get a few percentage points on the point, well, due to the fact that he's a Nara. But Kanga, they're back in control here. Remember, this is Envy's map pick. They picked this map yesterday, didn't they? Against,
Yeah.
Did they win this one? I'm trying to
brought this one up. They won 4-3 over Na'Vi, and literally the only thing different about their draft here is yesterday they had Barrack instead of Inara.
There you go. I mean, it worked out well in their favor yesterday against Na'Vi.
Looking at Kanga, grab Barrack instead of Inara here, but the Eevee, the Ruckus are the same, Aldamba instead of Ying, and then Leon instead of Amani. So they made a couple of changes for Kanga from what Na'Vi did, but very similar playstyle. And it was a 4-3, so it's not too surprising.
I mean, Kanga, they're dictating this one right now. Kanga are dictating the positioning, the aggression, and really just the way Envy are able to move. First round of ultimates online for the boys on the red side, and Envy not far behind. Mid-90s on a bunch of theirs, mid-70s on the slower charging ones. There's the Ice Storm to get things started here. It's going to find a little chunk damage. There's the Enlightenment. That cleans up Rubu. Chronix, he's been able to hang back this entire game and just find damage on the Leon. Rhino's just poking around the corner. There it is. Rock Monkey tries to hunt down the kill, but instead only finds death around that corner. And Kanga chasing down the remaining members.
If Chronix doesn't push that, I think Rock Monkey wins that 1v1, gets rid of the Eevee, and then can push into the Ruckus and kill him too. I think it's just Chronix that changes that in their favor. So brings things and sways things a little bit over towards them. And I mean, right now, this is exactly what Nick wanted to see. It's them breaking the Kanga curse, but a nice double kill from Mr. Hayes is going to at least equalize and stall some things out.
Don't you like it when you make a point and then the players like perpetuate that point? Like I said on Shattered Desert, wow, Mr. Hayes has really been hitting some through times and spaces today. They've all been looking really, really good. He's not only doing a lot of healing, but finding some damage and some kills, which obviously helps, and then hits a beautiful double. Buys his team a little bit of time. 50 seconds left. Kanga, 5 ultimates strong, though. 2 for Envy. Oh, Rock Monkey, 67 health. One shot from anyone would have dropped him back to base. Instead, Random Noob finds some aggression in all the chaos and kills off Evil Eye. There's a seismic crash. That could be good on to 2. Where's the follow-up damage? He has some with the help of Rubu. Jera, last one left alive. He's going to back off. He's going to leap off the map. With 30 seconds left, though, Gore, it depends how deep this pressure is. Are they able to even get through? Envy have poised themselves in a great spot.
I'm going to say if Kanga touch the payload again, I think
I don't think they're going to.
Envy
They're just sitting.
did something wrong, right? This is not a map where in 30 seconds you should be able to get not one across it, but being able to buy overtime. And yeah, you can see them. They're just chilling. That's just the way of the land. Like if you come out and fight right here, you give more kills.
You're giving ultimate charge to the other team.
And so that is the appropriate call from Kanga to just sit back. You're not going to be able to make it there in time. And considering you know what ults they just use, and when we get back into it, you'll see. Envy don't have a lot of ults coming into this. Kanga have all 5 available. So like that is the key moment. Like you said, you don't want to give ult charge, you don't want to give kills, you don't want to give credits. Nothing that you do in that scenario is good for you as a team for Kanga. Just let it ride.
I think Envy really needed that defense, I think. If Kanga really had the momentum going, they find 2 straight points here on Fish Market. That could have been tough. It's where teams go to lose, as we like to say. God, I can't get over that spray. the Microsoft Paint Grok. The Inara wall is still
your favorite?
That is by far my favorite spray in the game. I don't know how to get it, which is sad, but it is easily my favorite spray. And I'm sad that I don't own it.
I exclusively use the Grok spray.
The Grok spray is funny.
I can't even remember. There was one team that they all 5 had it, and they just kept doing it in like this really, really weird like cult-esque circle around them. And it helped them win games, much like Envy is winning this fight.
They are winning the fight. Evil Eye was able to get off his Ice Storm, which is interesting to know, but it was very defensive. The pressure was in on him, and he uses it right before going down to Random Noob in this case. So that's big to note that while Ice Storm isn't necessarily a game-changing ultimate, he had to use it to try to save his life and didn't end up even being able to survive. Not sure it would have mattered anyway. Envy captured the point, and now they're trying their hand at some offense. let's see if Kanga can hold off the defense as well as Envy did last time.
So someone can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure the only ult that was able to even be used by Envy was Scout, and I think it did use 60%. Like that's about the charge rate that it would come through. But the other two that they have up, the 3 they have up, and then soon to be the 4 they have up, weren't available at the beginning of this round. Whereas Kanga came in with everything. They used 3. I think just now we heard Chronix throughout the enlightenment. And that was just so
nice,
handedly in favor of Envy. Like, I don't understand where or what those ultimates on Kanga did, but it was not their job.
I was gonna mention that. I mean, it was so. They came in with a clear advantage to that mid fight.
Yeah.
I mean, a clear cut.
Like
we have 5
been
ultimates.
90 to
You
90.
have 1 or 2, if that. You would have thought they would have been able to use. I mean, I think Envy. I didn't quite see how the left side of that fight was playing out, but I think they got so aggressive with Maeve. And maybe Cassie and Ash followed them around to that side, but they had to use a lot of it defensively. Dread Serpent flew out, found 1, but it only sent a little bit running. I mean, there was no follow-up to be had there, so a lot of defensive ultimates used there. The health bars are really low here from Kanga. Chronix just squeaking by. Rubu's going to hunt that one down. Now Evil Eye's into the ice block. Shoulder bash is going to send that one away. Just misses. The dash is out, though, but the health bar's still so low. Getting a little bit of healing through the cards, but that's not going to matter. Envy answer back. That was a fast push. 7 minutes, 45 seconds. It's already 3-1.
Honestly, that's probably your best case scenario for distracting an Eevee.
All right, we'll see here.
Just lock them down. And yeah, so there's the Hexafire gets the kill. And at this point, a Dread Serpent, the Hexafire, and the Ice Storm had been used. All of them in that area. And they got 2 kills, 1 kill overall. And then immediately Maeve comes around and just rocks their world. No Dome Shield was used. And I'm wondering if that was them feeling confident they had it, or if Joel's just died faster than he thought he was going to.
I mean, it's different. I mean, I don't want to overanalyze, but it's like you find a kill onto Rubu with Hexafire and Dread Serpent there to help out, but you still have Random Noob just prancing around in your back line, and all eyes were turned elsewhere, and he was able to just float in there, find some damage, find some kills. So, I mean, the ultimates had some utility, but the positioning of the rest of Envy allowed them to still win the fight.
And I think that's what it comes down to. Those ults were good ults. It was just how they came about, or really no one protecting you more than anything. You didn't have a bodyguard for your ult, and I think that kind of spelled their defeat. They got very zoned in on one area, but there's going to be a Dread Serpent. Here's going to be, well, no Ice Storm as Eevee just gets boxed out of the air.
I'm going to slice you before you can pull that one out. Gara keeping alive Chronix here, and that's who you need, just to be able to sit up top here and pour out damage. He's got Rubu at his backside. Here's the Midnight, though. That's going to buy them a little bit of an advantage on the side of Envy, and a kill comes as well. Here's the Hexafire. Oh, but he just dashes out of it. A little damage goes on to Rubu, but it's not going to be enough for a kill. The Enlightenment connects, but he only trades out his life. Gara's back into the fight as well. Red and blue, but coming up in favor of Envy here. This one's going to be all over. 9.5 minutes in, Gore, and Envy are up 3-2.
I don't think I've seen Leon get deleted that fast. Like, she showed her head, and then I'm pretty sure 3 to 4 targeters on Envy just flicked to where Chronix was sitting. That was exactly what they needed at the time they needed it. And again, it was a little shaky, I want to say, at the beginning. Evil Eye spilled a little bit of water on himself there, and I think that kind of just symbolizes the way they were playing that game. It just didn't fully go the way they expected. Some of it was good, and then it would just kind of slop out of the bottle.
It's been a weird set in that it's like either Envy are dominating. Envy dominate 4-0, 4-1, or it's really close and Kanga squeak out a win. It's really one way or the other. We haven't seen Kanga just take control of a game and really take it over. I think they had a 4-2 win maybe on Warder's Gate is what that one was, and that's the closest they've been to a 4-0 in this case. But Envy, they find a little bit of their early series form in this one. They have the momentum on their side. They're 1 game away from taking our first set of the day. Let's send it back to Evan and Nick and hear their thoughts.
Well, not easy, but effective. The Genos wins again, wouldn't you know? And we had some interesting kind of conversation around that in the green room and out in the lobby with Not As Sincere, talking about, what was the purpose of picking Genos here and when you don't.
Yeah, and a lot of that came down to them. For them, the frontliner just Inara doesn't pair with it as well as Barrick, and I agree on a lot of those fronts, but when you watch that almost last entire fight, not really centered around Inara. I think Rubu was causing havoc in a backline, though he's not doing a ton of damage. He's always in people's faces, forcing them to move and not free cast, whereas Random Noob is just sprinting around the map, la la la, couple daggers here, big pounce there. It's just like, it was just dancing around this fight, never really under pressure. That's a lot of resilience, by the way.
Absolutely. And, you know, similar slash lines for a lot of these guys. Been struggling in the set. Definitely good opponents. And don't want to take anything away from from Kanga in that regard. But Random Noob, I mean, with Cat Burglar, with Luminary, hitting just so much.
And that's a great, like, who he's looking at is also important. Chronix and Rubu. Rubu got in Chronix's face in the first place to force him down there, but that wasn't enough. He's, you know what I mean? Like, he's not doing a ton of damage, but that's the little thing you need to watch with Rubu, especially on a map like this. So he's just chasing people around, getting in their faces. Who's in his face?
Nobody.
No, he's running around doing what he wants to be doing, shooting at who he wants to be shooting.
Right. 2 tenants we've seen, Pressure, and I guess Genos has also been a tenant. I was asking Na'Vi, why did they not ban, like, why did they not set up to get Atlas or Khan? Now, Spunky made an offhanded comment saying they're really more like DPS. I kind of responded and said, I feel like the DPS that they bring is what can help offset a map, kind of even things up when you've got a damage amp coming from Genos. Like, that Khan DPS is good enough to compete with a Genos amped Inara, so to speak, and still have that same impact, even though he's still a very effective frontline. And what they were saying is the Barrack pick, the ban of both of those, the Barrack pick, like you had mentioned, forced the Genos Inara instead of the Genos Barrack, which is so much more deadly from the weapon side, but also from the reset, kind of the flex mobility side on Fish Market. It just didn't prove to be the case. What I've seen over the course of this set, Nick, is that Genos is determining wins for Envy, and they are refusing to give it to Kanga. Now, Kanga keep winning these because what happens is Envy are pretty committed to getting Genos or banning it, and Kanga can kind of play into that with this draft strategy, knowing we could ban something else. You're probably going to ban Genos, or at least leave it open. That way we're still going to get one of the picks that we like.
And part of me wonders how much of that is Fish Market, too. Like I said, Kanga have never been the strongest team on Fish Market. Envy looked pretty good on it. They won a world championship on that map, so I think they kind of know what they're doing on Fish Market for the most part, and it is more of a niche map that if you're not actively practicing, you're going to be behind the ball there for sure. You know, it's the one you kind of roll your eyes at when you see in your casual or ranked queue.
That's true.
It's your Timber Mill, that type of stuff. Ruckus is going to stay banned here, and Atlas will also take a seat. I think this is a good idea because I think Rhino's really starting to pick up steam on this character.
And one of the things that they continue to do, Envy, is that they're going to make sure they get Khan. I mean, Envy have just drafted better, in my opinion.
Yeah, Rhino's not had a good game on anything but Atlas today.
Right. And I agree. He's had a little bit of a difficulty pressuring out. Tolki's fine with either because he's proven to be a great Khan. Genos has worked out wonderfully for Envy. Kanga are going to go away from it as well. Is it possible that Kanga, rather than not prioritizing the Genos, just haven't prepped it enough?
I think in a perfect world they get Khan Barrack. But prepping it, I don't think so because they have Gara. I think he's played with Fnatic so many damn Genos compositions.
Yeah, I guess less about him healing, but more about the lineup with it, maybe, right? That's going to work for them. I would think more around Chronix and the way that they would maybe try to change their style.
Like not having the right compliments to it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't shake the suspicion of we are intentionally letting this go and trying to win around it. I can't shake that feeling for some reason today.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously, if they get a chance to win, they'll be able to tell us all about it. But it looks like Envy are in a prime position. They've done well with the Ascended, and they will get him one more time with the Barrack this time around. Eevee, it's been the adjustment from Kanga, taking that away from Random Noob, forcing him into the main more consistently. Rock Bunky should be able to lock down the Cassie. Has been a very big pick for him. Went 9-2 last game on Fish Market.
And unfortunately, that might put Chronix back on Leon again, and I don't know if that's priority for him. Maybe it's an Amani. That's been a lot of where those hitscan guys have had to go is Leon, Cassie, and maybe Shaw, maybe Amani, maybe a Victor here and there. Things like that. It's really hard to establish that third spot in the hitscan sort of backline. And hitscan's like less and less the appropriate word for it because it's more fast projectile characters like Cassie and Amani anyway.
The Eevee picked up on Stone Keep. Obviously, a lot more mobility, a better pressure. Snipers have come into play, and you may see that Leon takes a little bit more precedence than Cassie with her potential on this map. But here's that maid. And these two, with that damage amp, it's just so scary. from Envy.
There it is, and that's why we talked about Maeve being such a powerful pick for Envy, because Rock and Random can play. We just saw Random go off with this character, and now they're just happy as a horse to give it to Rock Monkey, and I'm sure he'll do just fine on it as well.
Clearly got a strategy, clearly have a plan.
So valuable to have a character like that.
And both teams adjusting well, although we've been focusing on the Genos and that dynamic because it's been kind of the theme over the last few days, clearly the highest priority healer, and even Gore was talking about it on Wednesday. A lot of other things determine whether teams are winning. It's not just the draft, although that helps quite a bit. It does feel like Kanga and Rock and Random especially playing a little bit above what we're seeing Evil Eye and Chronix play on the day. If that shifts here, and Cassie's a good start for it, as well as Eevee, we could see ourselves going to a Game 7.
And I really do like the Furia here. I like that Chronix is going to be able to get Cassie, because now it's like no excuses, Chronix, for me.
Yeah.
And having Gara now parked on this Furia is not just like, okay, well, we're picking Damba because Damba's Damba and Damba is what you pick. It's like, I like that there's trying to get keep some damage out there, almost keep a little bit of a flavor of Genos. They get everything that they would want to have around with a Genos, but they can't get you. You can't have the cake and eat it too, and they're trying to find a way, maybe have a little pie or something else sweet to make this an overall good deal.
And I will say that taking the con means that you will get, like you saw there, you get your DPS and your secondary tank because of the way they banned out 4 of them. Yeah, Nick, it does force that Fernando, and it's interesting. It's interesting here. The Inara notably would have been something I could imagine Tolkien on. And doing very well, but yeah, without the Genos, forcing them deeper and deeper into that pool.
I feel very good about Ashe and Khan for Kanga, for Rhino, and for Joel.
Me too.
And especially against a Fernando and a Barrack, I feel like this is a great opportunity for Kanga to show we can control the pace of this game. We have a better front line than Envy do. We got to win this one.
Well, no Genos definitely was a problem. No Genos, we'll see if it isn't a problem this time around. Kanga fighting for their lives as Envy look to close out the set.
Thank you, boys. Potentially going into our last game of the day here on Stone Keep. Envy 3-2 over Kanga at the moment. Envy can win it and the first set. Kanga can win it and extend us to a Game 7. Envy in Game 7, so that would be something to see this week. 2 back-to-back. We kind of talked about it, though, Gore, at either the beginning or the end of the last game, is that the wins have been either very convincingly Envy or just squeaking out on the side of Kanga.
Yeah.
So despite finding wins, it hasn't really been convincing for Kanga today.
And I think the biggest way I can kind of word this for myself is just that it is a little weird to see the prospect that Envy could go 7 with Na'Vi, who I think in Navi's rankings are going to be powerful over Kanga, right? Yeah. And then go 7 with Kanga, where it's like that just, it feels like you've taken too many missteps, right? Like you were going down, you took like one right turn when you were supposed to turn left, and now they're like turning back to go back on the path. And especially with the way this fight has gone, they're back on the path they were supposed to. It's just that one right turn really messed them up for 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? But I mean, that's the PPL this season, in that seemingly, other than NIP, anyone can beat anyone on any given day, any given Thursday, any given Friday. A team could come out with a win. I mean, people were shocked when Kanga overtook VP a couple weeks ago.
True. I still kind of am, honestly.
I know, right? I mean, technically, rankings-wise, they're number 2. VPR, if we're looking just strictly at wins. Some would argue that Na'Vi are playing like the second-best team, but that's neither here nor there. Kanga were able to find the win over a higher-ranked team, and that's the thing to look at there. But Envy, though, had a very clean team fight to start off this round. They're pushing to make it 2-0 here. And again, this is scary because it's similar to Fish Market in that they're dictating the pace of what Kanga can do. And Kanga are on the back foot. This could be a big king bomb.
No, it's going to come through. It is going to get a kill right there. And I like the call. It was one of those moments where everybody was running away. Khan was prepared for it. But I don't think Eevee quite was. Evil Eye gets just knocked on the head with that one.
It's doinked with the King Bomb on her way up, sent back to base. The respawn comes through. She'll have an Ice Storm as well. First round of ultimates ready for Kanga if they want to use those to stop this from going through. Evil Eye back in the fight here after catching a King Bomb on his way through. Just getting some poke in there, but Envy, I mean, they have plenty of time. There's 1 minute and 15 seconds left for Envy here, so they don't need to put on the gas pedal just as of yet. Tolkien just trying to hold it where it's at. The Ice Storm's going to go through the shield, get some damage. Now he blinks through, but the Void Grip is good, but it's not going to matter. Joel's cleans up the dwarf with the red hair. Back to base goes Tolkien, Envy are 4 strong, and they're holding it where it's at, actually. Kanga are just not able to round this corner. The Immortal comes out to keep Rubu alive, and he's able just to squeak out within an inch of his life. Random Noob pouring out some damage onto Joel's. Things have calmed down for the moment, though.
The big thing is that King Bomb that was used, what, a minute ago? Charged back up at 84% as of right now. That Immortal being used is going to be huge for Kanga coming into the next round. But Envy are still looking for a 2-0 right now. They're still looking to try and close this out as fast as they can. That's a good stun. Yep. But unfortunately, you're seeing the effect of the Furia heal and then the effect of when it disappears, you don't have anything to rely on.
Random Noob plugging away at Rhino, paying off. That's a 1v1 that Evil Eye's going to get the better of. The Rock Monkey comes in, makes it a 2v1 and a 1-for-1 trade. Void Grip holds up Joel's in the air, and Rubu's able to drop that one. Now only 2 members left for Kanga, and they're back in their base. They're going to have one concerted effort to try to get back in onto this. 3 seconds left, 2 seconds left. The Dome Shield comes out to buy some space. The Void Grip is going to lift up Joel's here, or Rhino, excuse me. Is he able to stay alive, though? No, he's not. Rubu burns away at Chronix. Evil Eye as well goes down. The damage dealers are gone, and this likely could be a push here for Kanga.
Well, Jera going to get locked into the base right there, so there's not going to be as much healing online for this Ashe. That beam is going to come through, and it is going to connect, but it's not going to be enough.
It's not a push for Kanga, it's a push for Envy. I mean,
true.
Envy.
That is an accurate statement.
I said it was going to be a push for Kanga. It's going to be a push for Envy. Up 2-0. And that was sort of a slow burn. They were waiting just for the right time to engage on those fights. I mean, that sort of initial drawbridge is where they had the line drawn, and they didn't want to overextend, because once you get there, you potentially have members of Kanga up above you and shooting in at your back if you cross through there. So well played by Envy, just waiting for a pick and then breaching those gates, and they really controlled it from there on out.
You know, I kind of want to know the mindset Kanga is in. So one of the biggest things, and Evan kind of mentioned on Desk, I mentioned it on Wednesday on Esports Weekly, I talked about it a lot yesterday on the Desk and during the cast, but right now it's kind of Genos and Maldamba are the top 2. If Genos goes through, the other team gets Maldamba. Otherwise, Genos gets banned, one team gets Maldamba, and the other team kind of has to reach further in their pocket. Kanga has been opting to not go for the Maldamba, and I'm kind of curious as to what their thought process is behind that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned sort of the interesting meta, the interesting meta of healers. I mean, Furia has the ability to really change games with the amount of healing that she has. Just depends if you're able to get that healing through or not. The Immortal is going to come out here for Envy, but it goes right into a shield. Just a bit of a defensive ultimate there. There's the Midnight. That's going to limit the visuals here for Kanga. A little bit of jazz music to the tone of this first team fight. Back and forth, Chronix, Random Noob trading kills 1-for-1. Those are 2 frontliners back. Rhino could be the second frontliner to go down in this one if Rock Monkey continues on, and he does. And now Envy have retaken the point. The 3 squishy members of Kanga have to back off.
And they're going to get pushed out. There's still a King Bomb. There's still through time and space. And soon enough, there's going to be a Dome Shield available. So Envy have pretty much what they need. I believe I just heard the through time and space have the shot go out. Doesn't connect with anybody or make a big impact in the fight. But it's just going to be a zoning tool at this point, which is all that Envy really need.
Just buying some time. Again, I mean, I kind of mentioned it, dictating where Kanga are able to go in this point. And Envy are doing just that. Good body blocking, keeping those shots from going through, just dancing around the wall. Doesn't look like it's going to be able to connect onto any targets, but that's fine. Keeps himself alive. That's more important. As I said, though, he trades out his life. The frontliners of Envy, they're the ones getting aggressive now and finding the kills. Into the beam goes Rhino, and that's going to top him off. But unfortunately, once that's gone, the Cauterize comes through. So do the kills. Envy, they timed that one perfectly, and they're pushing to not only win the map, but win the set.
If we were still doing top fails on Esports Weekly, I just have to throw him under the bus here. I'd have to put that Random Noob Bomb King Bomb ultimate coming through.
See how nice I was? I was like, it's not going to fun.
He's like, he starts off, he's rolling the wall. Like that first 5 seconds is fine, because it's like, do I want to go down there? No, I don't want to commit to that. Is there anybody over here? No, there's no one down here. Then he just rolls out onto the point, into the open, in between all of this fight, and it's like,
Paul can take it, though.
That was a decision to make.
If there's anyone who's probably laughing at how
it's him.
He is very much Random Noob, I'm sure, is laughing at that turn of events. Envy starting to come alive, though. Rock Monkey 15 streaking on the Mave, rounding this corner. This is the line that was drawn the last time around by Kanga. 5 ultimates ready for the defense. And this is sort of what we mentioned, do or die. I mean, if you're Kanga, you need to ult to stop this from going through. That's going to limit some of the vision here. No kills just coming out as of yet, but there's an overpower onto one. Rhino's going to get cleaned up in exchange, though. Rubu, it's a 1-for-1. Mr. Hayes, through time and space, is the one that's going to find that. Evil Eye answers back as well. Chronix getting aggressive now. Through the doorway he goes. The bolts firing away, finding their targets, and they find some space. Envy are on the back foot and regrouping.
I mean, this is one of Chronix's best champions. You expect to see him get aggressive, see him get some kills on this. But again, and I'm going to draw this comparison because I think it needs to be drawn here. Rock Monkey, when he was in the scenario that Chronix was in, when Kanga was beating Envy, was still 20-4 on some of those maps, right? Chronix is not having that same performance, that same slash line on this Cassie, and that's speaking wonders for him. I mean, that is arguably his best champion next to, or I'd say even above the Leon from what we've seen out of him. His aim is really good. The shots are really good. It has changed games for Kanga where they've needed it. And this time around, it's having those moments, but it's small moments in the grand scheme.
Look at this score. The End Flame comes out, and they're actually losing the fight. I say that, but Chronix, we're talking about how he needs to have a big fight to win this one for his team. He does just that. That's a double kill. Comes through for him here. 15 seconds left. Evil Eye with another one onto Mr. Hayes. He's going to be down for another 5 seconds, and he has a walk back. It looks like this will be good for a defense. But how much did they spend? Envy have a dome shield going into the next point fight right here. If this is where this one ends. They get a touch with Tulki here, but he's so low right now. The shields are going to keep him alive. They actually retake the payload here. If Envy get aggressive, they can turn this fight around. Oh, Random Noob opens up this fight. Chronix is out of this fight right now for Kanga. That's the last person you needed to die. You need him in a big way. Now Jera's the target. Into the ice block goes Evil Eye. This one could go through if you're Envy, barely by the skin of their teeth.
And I mean, they're going as hard as they can for this. Dome Shield's still available. They use the Midnight King Bomb at 62%, but expect a Dome Shield in a second. Expect them to try and find the zone. The kills are all in.
That's it. Oh my, they turn it around. I was for sure Kanga was going to find the defense there. A pick onto Chronix, and then the ensuing pressure from Envy. That wins the team fight. That wins the game. Envy winning game number 6. That was back and forth.
Yeah.
But Envy, finally, I'm glad they needed that one. They have a 4-3 loss yesterday. Things were so close. They were feeling good with how they played, but converting that good play into a win, I think, was important today.
And I think that win, honestly, I can see that going one more round, right? It goes to the next point. They still probably end up controlling it, but that push comes down to Random Noob jumping off a balcony and just Hail Mary bomb to get Chronix in the back. And it's like he was trying to push him as hard as he could. He was trying to get that effort, but it very much was just that last little throw that made it worthwhile.
And it did make it worthwhile indeed. Hats off to the Envy boys. They get the 3-1 reverse sweep off their back today. They seal it. They seal the deal on the 3-1. Envy win your first set of the day. Let's send it back to the desk and keep things moving.
Thanks, guys. Envy take the W, and Kanga left a little disappointed and without what they came for, which is a W themselves. Unfortunately, that will be it for this week for them, but we still have a good matchup to look forward to. To wrap things up, Nick, you know, it's important to talk about what went right, what went wrong. What was your big takeaway from that set as to why Envy prevailed?
I think at the onset, it was when Kanga couldn't get good control on their front line. That's when things started to really fall apart, because I think Rhino was such a big part of the success yesterday.
Yeah.
So not seeing him have that type of pop-off performance, I think, had a little bit to do with not seeing Chronix have pop-off types of performances. And today in this game, this was the one where I was feeling very good about their frontline picks. I'm still very questioning about why Rhino on Khan and Joel on Ashe when they have just these two specific. Any other type of scenario, Rhino's playing Ashe and Joel will be playing Khan. Like, for instance, if the Atlas was in here, you would see Joel on the Khan, you would see Rhino on the Atlas. Vice versa, if it was Barrack Ashe, then you would see Rhino on the Ashe, you would see Joel on the Barrack. So definitely some question marks for me still about who's doing what and why. And I definitely, even though they lost, I'm going to find him, track him down, and ask him about this Genos and why it was let go to Envy so much today.
Yeah, I mean, and I love the thought process, and I hear you, but that's just you know, I don't know. I just look at it, there's this kind of unsolvable problem. Sometimes you can't stop it, right? And I watch a lot of basketball. Sometimes you see Steph Curry hits that long three. You just can't stop it. You're like, push up on him, he'll beat you. So, but at least you're pushing up on him. You're trying to do something. In this game, though, you know, there is a way to make sure Genos isn't played. There's a way to make sure he's a non-factor. So it was even if that's what they were going for, I still question that decision in general, and maybe looking at that as a way of improvement towards the next set, because it clearly was what Envy used to win all these games. I mean, it clearly was. But they've obviously got a chance to talk about it themselves. I mean, we're going to bring our reporters, so to speak, Dave and Gore, to have some moments with Envy as well. We're getting ready for that as they have their little post-game coming up to us, Nick. But final thoughts, obviously you thought Kanga frontline got a little mixed up, maybe an off day for them as well as Chronix, and overall trying to understand more what was behind the drafting decisions.
I like to see them going a little bit in a wonkier direction with supports, playing a little bit of Furia, playing a little bit of Ying. But again, Solar Blessing Furia is super risk reward. We even saw in the span of one fight, 2 missed Solar Blessing beams. That almost is nail in the coffin. When you go all in on like, this is how we're going to sustain through this fight, but you're missing that. It's one of the highest sustaining abilities in the game, but if you miss it, it's a flat 0.
Well, let's see what Envy have to say after winning against Kanga to start our day off on Friday with the PPL. We've got Dave and Gore standing by.
All right, guys. First of all, big congrats getting the win here today over Kanga. Kind of want to broaden things to start off. Things have really been going in your favor. You have a close loss yesterday, but it looks like you guys are playing a lot more comfortable, a lot more aggressive. What sort of turned around for you guys where you feel okay being more aggressive and more comfortable in these games? He's got the tattoo. You have to do it.
So coming into it, you guys look really strong on map 1, but on Bright Marsh and Warder's Gate, you start up 2-0 and then things kind of fall apart. Like, what was going on in those maps that kind of took the lead away from you guys?
Probably should have took Cassie instead of both our tanks. The Cassie made the flankers a lot harder to have an impact with, and on Bright, we should have touched the one time, but they had a really nice banish on all of us, and that stopped us from touching.
I could have touched.
Well, Rock could have touched. He don't touch point.
Why didn't you touch, Rock?
I thought we were okay.
Rock doesn't know what an objective is.
I don't know how it works.
The
I just
point?
avoid it.
Yeah, that's not for me. One question I had, and we talked about a lot during on the desk during your set, was the Janos yesterday with Na'Vi is very highly prioritized, banned sometimes, first picked almost entirely, but today it felt like Kanga almost wanted you to have it and were trying to pick around you and beat you with knowing that you were going to have it. Did you guys feel that? Were you wondering why they were letting you get it so much?
I think it's just teams have their own individual metas, and if they're confident playing into our meta and they want to run their Fury or whatever, then that's a good direction to take it rather than bait themselves and try to over-switch themselves to us. But, I mean, we were okay with it, so...
Gotcha. Anything that you saw from them today that feels like an improvement versus when you've played or seen them earlier in the split?
Overall, just everything in general. Like, they're just constantly improving, and I feel it.
All right, guys. Well, congratulations on the win, Envy. You continue to be on the upswing here. Congratulations. We're going to throw it to a quick break, though, before we get back and into our next set.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Brought to you by Evil Mojo, Hi-Res Studios, INAP, Respawn, Steel Series, Alienware, and Skillshot.